No, she's just saying hi. All good.
Good evening, welcome to the October 7th monthly board meeting. Ms. Meeker, will you take the roll?
Yes, I will. Ms. Boucher.
Here.
Ms. Campbell.
Here.
Ms. Hastings.
Here.
Ms. Higgins.
Here.
Mr. Richards.
Here.
Ms. Robinson.
Here.
Ms. Walsh.
Here.
I am here. Bob Cotton is absent.
I will take a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Ms. Robinson, second by Ms. Boucher. Is there any additions, edits, questions?
Do we need to mention that we don't have the second?
The second page.
I apologize.
So halfway through, we'll all
Okay.
just go home?
Yes.
Yes. Mind you, I went over this last night, but I had my book, which is
Perfect.
I'll take that.
Duly noted.
Duly noted.
Do you want to wait for the
Sorry.
second page, or?
I trust that it is
Okay, well, if
consistent with
anyone has
previous
something they
agendas.
want to amend later, let me know. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Consent agenda has the minutes from September 3rd, from the public hearing on September 9th, from the building committee on September 17th, and the special board meeting on September 18th. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Higgins. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Ms. Hastings. Any discussion?
Yes, I have a change.
Okay.
On page 16 of your packet, we have the end of the minutes of the meeting we had on the charter amendments, and we just have a correction. The board voted 8-0 to authorize the chair to issue a report. It was moved by Ms. Meeker. The notes say there was no second, but there was.
There was a second.
It was seconded by Liz Boucher, and I would like that corrected, please.
Okay, is that a motion to correct that?
I move to amend page 16 of the board packet to include Ms. Boucher as the second for the
Okay.
formal motion.
Seconded.
Second by Ms. Robinson. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any other amendments, changes, corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of the consent agenda as amended?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry.
Aye.
Sorry, we got distracted. Aye. Everybody says aye.
Any opposed?
Pam, there's your page 2.
Thank you. All, motion passes.
God, what a hot mess today.
Very you're doing
Happy
fine.
to welcome Concord High School for our monthly celebration of learning. Dr. Huber.
Okay. Can you give them another microphone?
That's just a
we
little
doing a
sneak
presentation?
preview of what we're doing.
Coming.
More info.
Is that a coming attraction?
All right, just give me 1 second, seeing if I can jump on that up there. There we go.
So could I draw your attention to, at least to the cover of the board report, even though the agenda was a little short? Each month, we change up the cover a little bit, and each month, the school that's presenting will have pictures of their school, so these represent Concord High School activities. So whenever they come in to do Celebration of Learning, you'll see that school and the students from that school.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I see Dewey, it says connecting, I'm not seeing action up there. But
Did they disconnect?
Yep. Yeah,
Then he shut down,
they
too.
go.
Did you do?
Yep. You want, I can, I'll try it one more time, if not, we can move with that.
You can try sending it to me if you want.
Just take this moment to review the second page.
Also, now that I have page 2, we don't actually need votes on the 300 series. It's first reading.
Oh, okay, good.
see if that, it should be coming to you right now. Right, in the meantime, what I can do is I can introduce the individuals I have with me. So tonight, I have sitting to my right, Eviana Ramo, senior at Concord High School, Kelly Akamana, senior at Concord High School, and Keegan, I'm gonna get this right, I was gonna get it right, Labby, also senior at Concord High School. And they're here tonight to share some information with you about their experiences in extended learning opportunities. So oftentimes, and I will throughout the year have an opportunity to go through AP data with you, SAT data with you, but what I don't often get to give you a deep look at is passion projects that are run and headed by students' interests, talents, and areas that they're interested in potentially pursuing after they complete their course of studies at Concord High School and graduate. So these three individuals have had multiple experiences with extended learning opportunities at Concord High School, and each of them here tonight are going to share a little bit of what they've done and what it's meant to them and how it's helped them grow as a student and prepare them for life after Concord High School. So with that being said, without further ado, I'm going to move it over to Kelly and go in alphabetical order tonight.
Hello, my name is Kelly Akimana, and I am I'm a junior, but I am graduating early, so I'm like a senior at Concord High School. And what do I hope to pursue after I graduate? I have plans that I am self-aware of that I will be completing after high school. I do not plan on going to college, even though college is a very big expectation in my community, and it is a heavy pressing feeling of not being perceived as accomplished if you do not attend college in my community. But I want to show them that it is possible for someone to be successful without a degree. I do plan on graduating high school a year early. I will be working a full-time with my clients and have more opening spots. I plan on doing this for about 4 to 5 months and then start searching for an apartment down in Boston. From there, I will attend a beauty school in Boston, and I will grow my clientele more down there also. I will be commuting to some of the beauty schools that I go to. The primary challenge I faced with my business was maintaining consistency, particularly due to negative feedback I received at the outset, which undetermined my confidence and disrupted my workflow. This ELO helped me focus on navigating the challenges of building success in hairstyling business, particularly in overcoming early negative feedback and maintaining consistency. Through this ELO, I conducted in-depth research on hair industry and developed a strategic plan for after high school career. Demanding nature of being high-earning hairstylist, both physically and mentally, it reinforced my determination to succeed without a college degree. Challenging cultural expectations within my African community. The lasting impact of this ELO is my strengthened resilience and comprehensive understanding of what it takes to thrive in the beauty industry, which I hope will inspire others facing similar challenges. And here is a video of
Perfect timing. Cross your fingers.
Oh, perfect, okay.
Thank you, John.
So here, go ahead and tell them what's in the video. I'll get it.
So in the video, it shows that not only was I the only one interested in this ELO, but I had told my friends about it also, and they had came to support. And it also shows like how it is not only me who wants to take this step, but there are others who, without knowledge and because it's not something that is brought up in school, but I did go the extra mile, and I am well aware that there's many kids out there who don't tend to really go the extra mile. They expect everything to be laid out on the table for them, and if everything is visually seen, that's when they take action. But with my determination, I was able to email around and see if I was able to earn credits for something that I do outside of school, because it is not only a job that I do, but it is a career that I plan on having in the future. And so in this presentation, you see how it aligns with the things we do in school, how this ELO has collaboration in it, self-direction, inventiveness, and communication, which are all things part of the new system, is Crimson culture that we do at Concord High.
Any questions for Kelly?
Good for you. That's what I say.
Yeah, this is wicked exciting.
Lots and lots of kids go to college without a clue what they want to do. So you're already thinking ahead and putting together you, and saving years of, not doing what you want. Nice.
Kelly, thank you for sharing that. Don't get discouraged. There'll be down days.
Yeah.
But stick with your dream, and it's so great to see an entrepreneur like yourself,
Thank you.
starting out.
Thank you.
I know you said you were looking toward going to Boston for continued education in the field and clients. Do you plan on coming back to Concord after?
Not exactly, only due to the fact that I feel like there's more diversity for the job that I do in Boston. In Concord, most of my clients do travel from Vermont or Boston itself. So knowing that there's a location like Boston where I can go to help people and it will help me grow my money and my clients, it's probably best if I do stay there. And I do not plan on staying there for more than 5 years. After 5 years, I do plan on moving down south where I will also open a salon down there.
Well, that's great, but maybe things will change here.
You have a long career. Keep
right.
Concord in your
Yeah, don't forget
sights
about us.
for.
I will not.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello. Hello, I'm Keegan Labby. As stated, I'm a senior at Concord High, and I'm looking into going into cybersecurity after college, and this ELO helped me decide that. Coming in, I wanted to do something in computer science, but I didn't exactly know what, and the help desk helped me determine that cybersecurity was what I'm interested in. In the help desk, the day-to-day was repairing student Chromebooks and helping teachers with any technical issues they had happened to them, and this benefited me because it narrowed down my career choice from just computer science as a whole to specifically cybersecurity. And I did this because I noticed as Chromebooks were coming in, they only ever had physical damage. And that got me curious as to what is the Concord School District doing to lock down the Chromebooks and secure them, which led me down the path of wanting to explore the encryption methods and how to keep computers safe, which is what cybersecurity is about. Beyond that, I learned how computers are assembled, how they work, and the average life cycle of them inside an organization. And a big part of doing the help desk is communicating with students who sometimes were frustrated that their device wasn't working, annoyed, just wanted it fixed. And this did help me navigate situations where someone is just frustrated and I have to figure out the proper way to approach questioning to find out the details I need to help them. And that probably was my biggest takeaway of, even though I'm going into the computer science field, I'm still going to be communicating with people, and having those communication skills is going to be important no matter what area I get in.
So don't say what they are, but did you find any ways we can improve our security?
I personally have not found anything, no.
Good to hear.
Keegan, do you want to share about your experience with First Robotics as well, seeing it's another yellow you've done?
I've done First Robotics as well. The high school has a team called Concord Robotics. I've been involved with the club for 4 years now. I've really enjoyed it. This is where I found my friend group. It's basically helped develop me, and it actually led me down the cybersecurity path by showing me that computer science was an interest of mine, because originally going in, I wanted to be a teacher, which two very different goals, career paths, but this did help me realize it by exposing me to opportunities that I never would have. And I focused heavily on the programming side of it, which did help me realize computer science was this thing that I was really interested in. But beyond that, it also gave me the opportunity to explore more machining and designing, because Concord Robotics has 6 weeks to build a robot from scratch, given a set criteria. And I've enjoyed that. That's how I've met a good portion of my friends, and it helped me develop and figure out this is what I want to do after high school.
Great job, Keegan. You're not gonna have to worry about getting a job anywhere. But you will have to still be teaching a lot of older people who are using computers and need to be aware of cybersecurity. I can guarantee you that.
We might have some openings.
Yeah.
Look at you guys trying to get him to come back to Concord.
Yeah, I mean,
Always,
definitely.
always.
His mom is here. That's what she wants him to do.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us.
Hi, my name's Eviana Ramo. I'm a senior at Concord High, and my ELO was in restorative justice. Unlike these two a little bit, mine doesn't have to do necessarily with what I want to go into. I'm hoping to say political science, and I want to be a lawyer. But a lot of my ELO has given me a lot of practical skills, like building on my communication, my leadership, how I interact with others and how they feel, and working with feelings and how to talk to other people. But I've learned so many amazing things through this. I've learned how to, I've learned how to talk with people of all different age groups, how to communicate with different people. A lot of what we do is trainings. So I was part of trainings in my sophomore year, learning about all of this and coming up with all the practical skills to now in my junior and senior year be able to bring this to the rest of my community. I've been in teacher trainings during professional days where I teach the teachers about restorative justice and practices. I do student trainings with people in the school, trying to build community and relationships within our school. An amazing experience I was able to do. I was able to go down to Runlet with Mr. Herbert last year and talk about bringing some of these practices into Runlet and how we can integrate it into all of the Concord School District. So I'd really like to just be able to use these experiences and stuff to further myself in how I am a leader in the community and how I can interact with other people.
Thank you.
You also are going to be in high demand along with your peers, so thank you.
We are missing one of our students tonight. Couldn't be here because she has practice, but Eliana Wing is a junior at Concord High School and independently sought out an ELO at Krista McAuliffe School, where she got a chance to explore the career and decide if she wanted to, continue down the pathway of learning more about becoming an educator. What she shared with me is that she does want to become an educator because of this experience. She got to observe feedback practices, interaction with teachers and parents. She got to observe several different classroom management styles, how to refocus young students when things get a little chaotic. But at the end of it, she said it confirmed she wanted to be an educator, and she finished off with a quote that I hope every student has the opportunity to participate in an ELO to explore, potential career interests while at Concord High School. So thought that was a very, powerful one, because she's not in educational behavior science. She's just curious, and she wanted to see if it's something she wanted to go further down the road on. And just a quick summary, Concord High School, this past year in the 23-24 school year, we had 200 ELOs in CHS sport. We had 50 specific to the PE area. That could be CPR, first aid, lifeguarding, dance. There's other things that might qualify for a PE ELO. And then 120 other individual ELOs. These are where students are sitting down with our ELO coordinator, coming up with a contract and explaining what they want to pursue and how it ties into their education and learning. And what we have going into this year already, we just finished the month of September. We have 20 up and running. We have 15 students seeking signature. They're looking for either a professional partner, a teacher to partner with them as an oversight. And then we have 9 in the planning phases where they brought an idea forward and now they have to go through the process of mapping it out. So this ties into an initiative the board gave the administration at Concord High School about 3 to 4 years ago when talking about expanding credit requirements. It was expanding learning opportunities outside the classroom, and I think we're meeting that request, and we continue to grow in this area. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Expect great things from all of you.
Yeah, really proud of you all.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah, you're gonna be doing great things. We're gonna be hearing about you. I have no doubt.
I want to welcome up Mr. Gill from the Concord Parks and Recs Department, and could you introduce your partner?
Here we go.
Gotta love this technology. It's awesome. Came early trying to look for cords to plug in and everything. And
Yeah.
well, my name is David Gill, obviously with the City of Concord Parks and Recreation Department. Chris Huntress is with Huntress Sports. He is one of the vendors we selected to help us look at memorial fields and options to improve. We're just going to do a quick presentation. Some of this presentation has been done before in the 2 public meetings. And we'll go through a little bit of history of the complex, and then obviously some of the issues. I think we all know what the issues are. And then Chris will get into some of the design options and how we got to a recommended master plan for consideration. So. Obviously, back in June 2023, the school board and the city agreed to look at Memorial Field. Thank you for doing that. I think it's a wonderful partnership. It's long overdue on a personal level. We had our first public meeting in September of 23, and we had a second one in February of this year. And Kathleen also arranged us to have some conversations with Runlet Middle School students, high school students, to get their perspectives on athletes from what improvement should happen at Memorial Field. Again, I think maybe most of you guys know this, but Memorial Field started in 1926, slowly expanded over the years. Football, night games, baseball, 1971. It really expanded into what it is now. It's about 34 acres. In 1971, the city, working with the community, did do a complete master plan for the facility. I think they did a pretty good job because they have additional parking, which you'll see in a little bit. They have a dome sports complex there. I don't know how they get all the parking there, but the baseball field, they had a field hockey field. Again, that's a lot in a very small space, but they did have a plan. Just a quick snapshot of what's there today. It's a 36-acre park. Obviously, it's home of most of Concord High School sports. Field hockey is off-site at Rollins Park. We have a Little League field. In the summertime, we also have adult baseball and softball leagues, running groups. We host several softball tournaments there, too. This is a picture that Chris's group took. I think it looked pretty good. You can see some of the areas that have no grass growing because of the moisture, but we'll get to that shortly.
That's what we'll call it.
Recent investments, the city over the past 10 years has put $800,000 into the complex. Most of that is related to redoing both the 10 tennis courts, the press box, and then we did some engineering study looking at the bleachers of both the football field and the baseball field. And obviously, before any investments continue, this master plan was needed to help us work with the community and work with everybody to figure out what the next steps are. The issues, just want to highlight them in case people have not been down there when it rains. A couple of pictures from past years. The drainage that was installed in the early 1970s obviously has failed. And also to note, we are getting more and more heavy rain events compared to back then. So we do get several times as 2 or 3 inches in an afternoon that the complex just could not absorb that kind of water. It does have some soil issues as well as drainage issues, but the heavy water is also compelling it. The 1970s expansion, that general area in red, and that's also the general area of the worst conditions regarding moisture in the fields. That area in red is also about a foot lower than the football field. So, you know, all the water drains to that area to begin with, never mind when the drainage systems do not work. And it's also interesting to note, in the 1970s, it did not anticipate the sports of today. It did not have lacrosse fields, doesn't have a soccer field. We don't have on-site field hockey there, even though the master plan had it. It was never built. The grass field inside the track cannot be used at the same time the track's being used. Obviously, the track needs to be replaced. Bleachers need to be replaced. We did have a couple of conversations on artificial turf fields, pros and cons. If so, what location, what sports. We have parking challenges. There's not enough parking to meet the needs today, never mind the future. There's ADA and accessibility challenges throughout. So again, working with VHB, they're not here today, but Chris pointed out some of the obvious that we already knew from the complex. This is what we heard. All the videos are online if you wanted to look at them, but obviously address the drainage issues, improve the lights, replace the bleachers, more parking, increase accessibility, replace the track with a new field. They want to keep all the users that are there now, plus bring field hockey on site for the high school. Add an athletic field, so the track and the new athletic field can be used at the same time. There was an interest of adding lockers to the site, as well as updated bathrooms. And then improve the walking trails and cross-country ski trails that go out, that start at Memorial Field and then go out to the cornfields and to White Farm. And then obviously add artificial turf. It was brought up, but we didn't really go down a path of what type and where, and there's pros and cons of that, and that's probably a separate meeting all by itself. I'll turn this over to Chris now, and this is the expert, so he'll be able to continue.
Thank you. Is it just the down arrow?
Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for having me in. Just to introduce myself, my name is Chris Huntress. I'm with Huntress Sports. Landscape architects, planners, and engineers. We're working as a subconsultant to VHB or Vanessa Hangen-Bruslin. The range of we've been doing sports for over 25 years. Our clients range from elementary, secondary, public and private schools, right up through colleges, universities, and professional sports. So we've been blessed with the opportunity to work with the City of Concord and Concord Public Schools for the last year, and just looking at Memorial Field and what the constraints are, what the opportunities are, and how we might best address some of that. Some of the things that limit this site or present some constraints include property line limits, wetland issues, the large kind of yellowish greenish figure that you see in the lower kind of left-hand portion of that site plan is a wetland system that runs along the left. North is to the left on this plan, south is to the right, so if I refer to north and south, that'll help orientate you. But the wetlands are predominantly in that northwest corner, but they do go all the way down kind of the western edge, which is also the lowest edge of the site. And portions of that drainage system are included on state property, adjacent state property, but they include wetland streams. They have permitting implications. The buffer zones associated with those would also trigger review. The topography is such that your parking lot up on the west side, or I'm sorry, the east side is your high point, and then the site kind of moves all the way down as it moves, east to west. You do have high groundwater, particularly in the locations that Dave was saying, the newer locations that were built in the 70s. You've got groundwater within 1 to 3 feet of the surface, depending on the time of year. Hydric soils is really a fancy way of saying that those soils have been subject to groundwater over time, and that they could be considered wetland soils as well. And you've got a lot of program that's been put into this site over the years that creates some conflict and made it difficult to move things around. But we'll show you some of the things we've done and the recommendations that we've got for how you might move forward. I'm going to take you through first a series of drawings that we had started with as we started with the planning group, and kind of looking at what are the opportunities if we move things around on the site, and what are the domino effects. And this is a series of 4 or 5 alternatives here that I'll take you through. But we looked at widening the track to 8 lanes, expanding the field on the inside of the track to accommodate a larger soccer field, and how might we orient that to get maybe a preferred or a better orientation from a solar perspective. Your fields want to be in a kind of north-south orientation along the long access point. But what this helped do, and this, you can see we moved the track and field and expanded the bleacher here. It really dominoes into 3 or 4 different facilities. This one happened to hit not only the track, but softball, Little League, and had an impact on tennis and some of your pedestrian circulation and the like. So, we kept looking around. If we flipped everything around so that we'd be having the grandstand kind of looking south, does that help us get away from the tennis courts? And then we looked at if we were to look and put everything on a true north-south orientation, does that help us, effectively taking the track and moving it out? We found as we went through all of this that because of the domino effect, we would never find a situation where we could accommodate all the program, particularly adding program in like field hockey and the other sports that aren't there now. So it drove us kind of back to, let's start to work with what we have. The orientation of your existing fields, beyond baseball that looks south, the other fields were not bad. They weren't perfect, but they weren't bad. So we went back to a plan that started to look like this. This is option C. That starts to look at taking advantage of the opportunity of rebuilding your track and field in the footprint of your existing track and field. The benefits to that, it's not north-south, but it's kind of north-northwest, which isn't bad from an orientation perspective. Spectators have the sun behind them, so it's not in their eyes, that kind of thing. So that was a positive here. We did look at, particularly in this game, you'll see, taking the tennis courts out and moving them south to provide an additional athletic field of significant size. This came out of some of the listening sessions that we held, where many people at the meetings wanted a second field, and a second field that was not constrained by a track and field. A field that could host a state championship competition, Concord being the capital of the state. They felt that was an important opportunity to explore, so we looked at some of that here. Some of the other things we looked at were off-site parking. Understanding that parking is not sufficient on the site to accommodate the program you have now. If we keep all this program on here, there's not going to be an opportunity to expand parking without building a garage or doing something incredibly expensive. So we looked throughout the neighborhood at some of the adjacencies and what was immediately available to us now to be able to park, and how we might better coordinate that pedestrian access and arrival, bus drop-off, and circulation throughout the site. And that led us to do a few things on site, and I'll get into the master plan in just a minute. That shows you a little bit more detail. But we did look around this neighborhood, particularly across the street, at what parking might be available for off-site or satellite parking. So this, in the end, is the recommended master plan. This came out of, again, a series of public meetings. I'm going to start at the track and field and kind of work my way south. This includes an expanded 8-lane, 400-meter track. It's got double straightaways on both sides. We did reduce the size of the bleacher here from about 2,000 seats down to 750 seats. And we did widen the field on the interior of this, the infield, to accommodate a full-size soccer field as well. So once I accommodate a full-size soccer field within the track, we can we can play everything else. We can play football, field hockey, lacrosse, women's lacrosse, could all be on this field. That's a lot of program to put on one field, which leads us into a discussion of, turf versus grass, but I'm not sure we're quite there yet. So the track and field goes to 8 lanes, full-size athletic field in the center, 750 seats. Moving south of that to where the tennis courts are presently, we located a full-size competition athletic field with 2,000 seats. And the orange, and I call it a square, that you see just above that or to the east of that is a newly built 5,000 square foot field house with bathroom, concessions, locker rooms, storage for maintenance and the like. A building of sufficient size given the scope and scale of the facility that you're trying to serve and the maintenance, not only the athletic needs, but the maintenance needs that you've got there as well. The 2,000 seat grandstand that's shown along the western side of that new multipurpose field in the middle there is intentionally located on that western side for 2 reasons. One is again, the spectators are going to be looking east. The sun's going to be moving around behind them, so as you're there watching a game, it's not going to be in your eyes. It also means that as you enter the site from the parking lot, the site's open and level. There's no obstruction beyond that new building that blocks your view across the site. One of the opportunities I think you have here on a rather large site is to be aware of what the present feels like as you arrive on the site and make sure that people can understand the scale, scope, size of all the facilities that you have here and not block that immediate view as you come in with a grandstand. So that's one of the reasons that we did that. All of these facilities, being the track and field and the new multi-purpose field, would have sports lighting. And then we also renovated the existing softball and baseball in place, and we moved tennis to be further down and connected everything with pedestrian walkways. The other fields, which include practice fields, Little League fields, and an adjacent softball field, all stay in place. We would provide drainage improvements to those, but those would be renovated in place. And we started talking about phase 1 and what that might look like. And intentionally, I'm going to go back and forth here a little bit, but as we developed the overall master plan, we wanted to make sure that if we developed phase 1, that it wouldn't affect your ability to do things later down the road. So I'm just going to kind of flick back and forth. The 400-meter track that you see here in the expanded field from phase 1 is the same track in the version that you see here. So by moving forward with phase 1, you don't prohibit the ability to move forward to later phases. We don't necessarily in phase 1 have to impact tennis or any of the other facilities for that matter. The focus of phase 1 becomes renovation and upgrading of your parking area, increased circulation and new exit drive out onto the adjacent roadway, and an expansion of existing parking within the main parking lot. We also improved bus circulation and drop off and handicapped accessibility into the site as well. And the entire track and field facility, tennis facility, becomes handicapped accessible through this renovation. The seating that you see here at the track and field, again, is 750 seats. That would have a press box and filming, sports lighting, and the drainage improvements that we had mentioned previously. One of the things that's interesting about starting with this phase 1 in the way that we have is we're at the highest elevations of the site. And in reconstructing your parking lot, and particularly your athletic field, we can take the subsurface components of your athletic field and turn that into a stormwater storage chamber. We can make leaching chambers underneath. We can capture some of that stormwater, release it after the peak of the storm would go by, which is going to significantly improve your drainage situation down below that in your remaining fields. So intentionally, phase 1 would have a significant investment in drainage. It's going to capture that runoff that comes off impervious surface. It's going to hold it past the peak, which is going to help us as we get into those lower elevations in your existing fields and look at how we can improve those as well. And this is a graphic that was put together by VHB doing the civil and the grading and drainage work, that once we accommodate the improvements necessary in phase 1, in the longer term, how would we address grading and drainage down in the lower fields? And this is these different colors that you see here, really elevational colors on the amount of filling or grading that would be needed. And then the blue lines that you see are proposed drainage improvements that would help. we have to start all the way back on the west side. It's actually on the state property. There's an existing culvert that is on state property that is really your restrictive outfall. It's where all the drainage from your site eventually leaves and goes through. And that culvert needs some maintenance. It's got some debris, it's got some portions of it that have collapsed. And we do think that by addressing that in phase one and working with the state, which we have to go through the alteration of terrain permit anyways, we're gonna work with them to improve that culvert crossing, and that will help us alleviate some of the backup and other things we have going on the site. And then again, in the longer term, these kind of colors that you see here, the grading patterns, the darker the color, the more fill condition occurs. So a lot of this is kind of lifting some of these low spots up and creating some better elevation for the existing fields themselves, and then putting subsurface drainage and leaching capabilities within that. This is a rendering of what the future could look like at Memorial Field. This is the expanded 8-lane track with double straights. That is a full-size athletic field that's been lined for football, soccer, lacrosse, both men's and women's lacrosse, and field hockey. That's 750 sites. In this version, in the right-hand side, you can see the tennis courts have remained in place, and there is a new field house building behind, again, that 5,000 square foot field house. In the distance behind that, you see the parking lot, and you'll see this kind of this looped road that swings out. That's a new access road that brings us out opposite the driveway on the other side of the main road there, so that we can improve circulation not only in your site, but as you enter and as you leave. This gives us the opportunity to provide additional bus parking, better circulation, drop-off areas, and improved ADA accessibility. I think we added about 57 to 60 parking spaces. I was just telling Dave before the meeting, you know, everything we've been doing to date so far is master plan level. We haven't gotten into, obviously, construction documents. I think we can probably improve the parking count on site a little bit more than the 57 spaces. We're not going to double that, but we can probably do a little bit better as we get into construction documents. So a big portion of our kind of first look at this was how do we improve parking circulation? And when I say circulation, it's both vehicular and pedestrian. See how far along we are here now. So that's the proposed new master plan. The recommended next steps. You want me to give this, or did you want to? Oh,
Whatever, you can take a break.
It's a lot of talking.
Obviously, the next steps are, is having hopefully the community, the school board, city council approve the master plan for the complex. After that's approved, it would be to fund final design, permitting, and traffic study per the master plan. I think everybody understands from a traffic perspective, it's traffic, but it's also pedestrian access. A lot of the students walk down from Concord High School, making sure those areas continue to be safe. Once final design and permitting and traffic study is approved and everything works, we're recommending right now phase one construction is to do what just Chris talked about. It's the track, it's the parking, it's a new field, and then some drainage improvements along that. And then phase two, and we didn't break it down, we did in the next page when it comes to cost estimates. But the next phases can be broken down into multiple phases depending on the appetite for additional funding to make those improvements. It's a large complex. It's needs a lot of work. Final design, permitting, and traffic study. That would be the next, if the city and the school board wanted to go down this path together, that would be the next dollar value to consider. And then the entire project cost is right now $28.5 million. Again, that can be broken down into smaller chunks. That's a lot of money. But I think when you look at phase one, that's still a lot of money. It's still about $12 million, but it would get us on a path that maybe phase two and all those different variations can happen at a later date. All our information from PowerPoints to past meetings is online on the city website. This PowerPoint will also be online. I can share it too. It's kind of a large document, so it doesn't work through our email, but we can Questions, thoughts?
I'm sure. I would ask that you share because we need to have it included in our minutes. Ms. Higgins?
So no one in this room has more time with their boots on the ground at Memorial Field than I do. And if you think you do, stand right up and let me know, but I don't think so. So as I'm listening to this, I'm able to visualize exactly where and what aspects you're talking about and what it will all do. And what I like about it, two things come to mind. White's Park baseball field used to be a pond as well. And we did all the renovations to White's Park a few years back and did raising the ground and all of the things. That just came to my mind, and it's been incredibly successful. It's created a whole new reality for sports activities at White's Park. So knowing that that could happen at Memorial Field makes me feel really good. Number two, I would point out, by following this and doing the track, so right now Memorial Field's track is 100-meter straightaways, 100-meter turns. This is for people at home that might not know. So the football field fits nicely, but any field that's wider than a football field can't go in there. That's why, yes, we can have a lacrosse game on that field, but the field goes onto the track. So you can't have anything on the track while lacrosse would be happening. So with an 80-yard straightaway and 120-yard or meter turns, now we can fit these huge fields in. So I look at the completion of this, even if nothing else gets done for a year or two, we've now created a revenue source here in Concord for high school tournaments, both track and field and big field sports, because we have a venue that can do both of those things. Maybe not at the same time, but we've not lost anything by only doing part of it. I just think it's a logical way to start because we take the most used aspect of the field, which is the track and the football, that aspect, and create a reality that now invites a field hockey tournament to take place there, a lacrosse tournament to take place there, a soccer tournament. So those are excellent. The third thing is the nightmare that is the parking lot and the access road and lining up with the State Hospital Road and having space for buses is spot on. So these are things that made me happy as I was listening to you talk. So that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Robinson?
Yeah, thank you. So as we're exploring this in phases and we're looking at costs, I know that even the school district has entertained private-public partnerships. And so I'm curious how the city/school district could pursue that in this example. Maybe it's putting someone's name on, like maybe it's no longer Memorial Field, maybe it's, Verizon Field or something like that, just to, beleaguer the euphemism. Is that something that has been a part of conversations? And if not, is there a particular reason why that wouldn't be helpful in our planning?
The city has had a great track record of public-private partnerships. You look at the Merrimack Lodge at White Park. It's the Merrimack Lodge because Merrimack County Savings Bank made a large contribution. That was a $1.1 million building. Almost half of it was private donations. So I think when you look at this facility, there are aspects that could be naming rights, could help with that cost. The original land donation was for a memorial for the World War, the Great War, the First World War. I think we'd still have to honor that, but I do believe as you improve some of those sites, you can definitely get naming rights if that's what everybody wanted to do.
Cool, thank you.
And also, there are grants and stuff out there too that I think would help. Land and water conservation grants. This property is already protected by land and water conservation, but it's up to a $500,000 grant. Is competitive, but it also requires a match. So it'd be very easy to have a match if it's at this kind of dollar value. So we would look at all those different funding options for sure going forward.
Great. Thank you for clarifying that too, because I know folks can, like 25 million, I get sticker shock looking at that too. So knowing that there are other avenues that we can pursue can probably soften the blow of that number.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mr. Richards and Ms. Baker?
Okay, lifetime of the drainage system that you're putting in there. You're putting a new drainage system in there. We've had not great history on our other ones, although it probably worked fine for a little while. Can you tell me what the lifetime of that is?
Sure. So your existing drainage system was put in, I believe, in the 70s. I know that there were improvements. I'm sure there were improvements made over time, but drainage systems are not intended to last 50 years, or more. They do clog up. Fines will move through soils and eventually get into these pipes or leaching systems or whatever we do. So they have to be maintained. Sometimes they have to be ripped out and redone. I would expect fully that the drainage system that we would put under your track field, which would be a much easier system to clean than what you have now, would probably last, it would last 40 years. Systems that are French drains or soil drains that might, like laterals that might go through an athletic field, they will have a more limited time frame. I would say those are gonna last 15 to 20 years, and then they have to be maintained. But the good part about that is that they're closer to the surface, they're easier to get at. If there's a maintenance plan in place, people know how to do that. That's not the big part of this overall expense. That's a smaller investment, but you just have to know to maintain it. And maintaining that outlet structure that happens to be on the adjacent property is equally important because it impacts your drainage.
And
Thank you.
I'll add to that is construction documents now are significantly better than they were in 1971. Some of the plans we have are hand-drawn from back in the day, so I think, you know, as we do make those investments, it's gonna be 21st century. We're gonna have the ability to clean out and access the drains, and we're gonna know where they are. So I think that's added value too. That's a great question.
We have a lot more in drainage technology and products available to us than they did back then, so we can do a lot more, I think, than they could have at that time.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Meeks?
Well, I want to talk about drainage too, so thanks, Jim. My question is about whether or not the drainage can be addressed without a large master plan. If there is delay in sort of these larger aspects of the project because this is a partnership between the, city council and the district. We've got big projects, both the city and the school district already have big projects going on. But I think about the fields that are unusable in the meantime. So I'm curious to know if, I noticed 2E was sort of that drainage in the lower fields. Is that something that could be potentially isolated and addressed as like a cost-saving measure that we do while we're thinking about the larger plan?
There are certainly things that you could do to improve it, and I would say number one is you have to get to that outfall point and clean that. That really everything starts there and kind of works its way back up. If you're not going to do the phase one improvements, then the regrading of the entirety of what I would call the lower fields, the practice fields, would have to be elevated and lifted, because right now there's a certain amount of water that comes down that hill and lands in the bottom area. And if we're not capturing that and holding it up above, which we would do with the new track and field, I can store a lot of water under that. So I can capture some of that water, hold it up higher until the peak goes by. If I'm not gonna do that phase one, now I have to make the bigger investment down below by lifting those fields and putting more substantial drainage down there. So there's gonna be a cost one way or the other. I think your money is better spent up in phase one and making the improvements up there, holding some of that stormwater up at that higher elevation, and then keeping some of the fields down below at their existing elevation, but providing more modest range improvements.
Gotcha, okay. And then, so I'm thinking of that picture with the big divot in the ground where the pipe has collapsed. Is that something that, again, if we needed to make improvements in the meantime while we were creating this long-term master plan, is that also something that we could explore?
Of course.
Yeah, and we've started digging up some of the areas to explore the current conditions. Barb's probably been down there in the wintertime, but the stairs on the press box, I've seen frost heaves that are 2 or 3 feet high. That hole, if it's wet down there, that hole, it's not, drainage is not working, it's just the frost heaves are all over the place, just to the water content. I've seen our cement steps up, and then when spring happens, they go back down.
Yeah.
So it's a common a lot, but we're beginning to dig some of those up and trying to figure out if we can make it work a little better.
The benefit of putting master plan in place, particularly when it comes to drainage, without the master plan, if you go and fix a small drainage issue over on point A, you may very well just push the problem over to point B, and that's what we find. But if there's a master plan in place that shows how that drainage makes its way down the hill to the eventual outfall point, and you start there and work your way back, then I think you'll see better results.
Great, thank you.
Hastings?
I'm guessing that this wouldn't be a quick fix, even if phase one was to be the first one that happens. Concord School District uses Memorial Field a lot. How long would it be out of commission, and where would we go to use the football field? Where would we go in that meantime? Have we thought about that at
It's a
all?
question of how long, where you'll go, I'll leave it at that. But, so the design permitting, because we have to go through a state process to be able to, we have to go through the alteration of terrain permit. That process can take some time. So design, permitting, engineering, bidding is gonna take about 12 months. The construction can take anywhere from 6 months to 12 months, depending on when you start. In a perfect world, you start right in April as the spring breaks, and you work through the summer and you have it completed by the fall. And that does interrupt sports. We have to interrupt sports when we work on a field. But that would be the shortest time frame and the best time of year to be able to start the construction and then end. If we started, say, in the fall, then I would say it's a longer process because we've got a break for the winter activity.
And
Graduation too.
we are having those conversations now, anticipating maybe there's movement. Athletic Director Steve and myself and Kenny Edwards at Merrimack Valley. If something has to be done creatively regarding scheduling, they have a brand-new track they just put in this year. They have some good facilities, football and soccer. So is there a creative way that our neighbors to the north could help during the construction? And I think there's a willingness, but again, it's just conversation right now, because we're planning on a what if. And those conversations do need to take place a year in advance. NHIAA schedules are usually done 6 to 7 months out. So we'll
There was a year, I don't know if it was the track being resurfaced or what, but when I was coaching at track at Concord, and we had to go to St. Paul's for a chunk of the spring, years and years ago.
It might have been about 25 years ago.
Yeah, okay, shh. Now.
Mr. Richards?
Yeah, I have 2 questions. One's just a personal curiosity question is, where are the field events? Are they still in the middle of the field?
Field events, in the back of the master plan. Good question. Shot put is still over where it is now, which is just about 12 o'clock if you're looking at the center point of the field. Discus and javelin would move to the south, down around the softball field, again, roughly where they are now. And the long jump, triple jump would be in what I call the D area, which is what's the orange part that's captured on the inside of the track on what would be the eastern end of the track there. So you'd have 2 long jump, triple jump facilities in there. High jump would be in the opposite D area on the west end of the track. And
Pole vault there too?
and pole vault would typically be with high jump, yes.
And now my more serious question, that was personal curiosity on that one. You have a lot of storage of water underneath the field, either winter freeze or other, environmental things. Does that ever cause an issue or a problem that would percolate up or move up to the field, and is it something we need to be concerned about?
You should always be concerned about it.
Water.
So yes, however, the answer has a couple different layers to it. A lot of it would depend on your elevations of groundwater there existing now. And when I talked earlier about some nicer technologies or newer technologies available to us now, we can do a lot with some of the chambered systems and a lot of crushed stone, and it's going to encourage infiltration. It's going to hold back stormwater into the field. So it's not like we're just going to flood the subbase of the field and fill, say, a crushed stone void in there. We're actually gonna have a chambered system under there that would hold and store water and infiltrate in the ground. So that would eliminate, and the depth of it would eliminate the concern, if you will, for kind of a frost heave condition at the surface.
Okay. And then am I reading this correctly, though, that until you did phase 2, we would be a maximum of 750 seats?
Under this scenario, yes. But
Okay.
one of the conversations that we've had is whether, if it's phase 1 going forward, and that may be it, do we expand the seating? What I can tell you is my recommendation would be that we build the center seating, if you will, that's 750 seats, with the capability of expanding left and right so that we could enlarge that. You could choose to do it all now, or you could do it in a multi-step phase, but I'd like to make sure that we don't leave you with a facility we open on day one, everybody immediately says, there's not enough seating. And we can't fix it. So we have to be able to say, well, we can fix it by expanding the bleacher. And as we get in construction documents, we can show you how that expansion would work.
Thank you. And some of the
Could you go to the phasing sheet for a second?
Some of the conversations we had regarding bleachers is also the ability to bring in some portable bleachers for those peak times. Obviously, it's not the 2,000 we have now, but we do have the ability to bring in some portable bleachers that may help a little bit.
I'm just curious after I understand why you have track and field first. I'm sort of curious why the rest of the drainage issues are at the bottom of the list, because, I mean, that's in the last phase.
It's probably not fair, these were bullet points. There's a lot of drainage that occurs in phase one that's probably not listed there. And a lot of that is what we just went through. And the important part of that is capturing that stormwater before it makes its way down to the bottom of the hill where it's gonna create problems now. So, and I think if you solve a lot of that up at the top with your track and field, you're gonna see immediate improvement down below, even if you did nothing else. And by nothing, you should still fix the outfall. But if you did nothing else, you're still gonna see improvements down there because we're holding back some of that stormwater.
And then, Ms. Boucher, and that brings me to my second question. I assume there's a fuller master plan document than this PowerPoint? Or is,
This is the bulk of the work, but there's quite a bit that went into this, so if there's more information that you need or want, we're happy to get it.
This phase was just the master planning concept phases,
Okay.
The public meetings, and then working with the vendor to say, hey, if we're to move forward, you know, this is the concept. The next piece, you know, if it's funded, is the construction documents and all the detail regarding what would go into the football field or the bleachers or everything.
That costs $1.5 million.
yes, Ms. Boucher?
My question kind of piggybacks the drainage question that Ms. Meeker had brought up. In terms of doing something now, I keep hearing the outfall, that's on state property, so the outfall has issues on state property. What has been done or is planned to be done to work with the state to address that now?
We're reaching out to them to see what is reasonable on their end to have it addressed.
So was it known that there was an issue with that outfall?
Not until
now.
We did have a conversation with Trinity Church. It doesn't really affect us, but their drainage swale, to the south, that was all overgrown. They did clean that out. We didn't really affect Memorial Field per se, but just past their swale is the one with the state. So we have to have that conversation regarding how did they move it up in their to-do list for us.
Good luck for that.
Yeah.
But if that's like a big source, then, you know, certainly if we were to build a new field, we'd still need to be on top of the state to make sure that that is maintained.
Correct. And they would need to go through the permitting process to replace that also. So it would make sense if we were to do something together, how do we do it together?
And
But
they
we
need
have
to get on
reach-
it now, so when we decide to build this field, they're still not behind on that outfall.
100% correct.
Let's get on the horn.
Other questions? Do you have a date scheduled to present this to the city council?
We're going to the November city council meeting.
Thank you.
So that's the second Monday in November.
Okay. Good luck there.
I think, just like a lot of you have been involved in the public meetings and listening, I think several city councils have too, so hopefully there's no surprises and it's just figuring out how it fits into everybody's potential schedule.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Oh, Ms.
Well, November 11th, the second Monday in November is the 11th, which is Veterans Day.
So it'll be Tuesday then.
Okay, thank you.
Good
Just-
catch. Yes.
I'm
And
putting
again-
it in my calendar.
Yep. Again, thank you for, working with the city council on funding this. I think it's long overdue, and I know all the feedback we've received, people at the meetings and people who were not even at the meetings that heard about afterwards, they were very excited about the possibility of doing something. So I appreciate that, and thank you.
Well, you've given us a lot to think about.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you both very much
Thank you,
for your
Dave.
hard work. Recognitions and reports. I'd like to welcome our new student representative from Concord High School, Erin Bernardo. And welcome back, Bam.
Hi. Hi, everyone. My name's Erin Bernardo. I hope everyone has had an amazing day. I'm a junior at Concord High School, and I'm the new student representative. I've been president of my class for the past 3 years. I'm vice president of Racial Equity Club at Concord High School for the past 2 years as well. I'm also involved with volunteering at the high school, Project Story, and Change for Concord as their student intern. And lastly, I'm also a student leader for the Restorative Justice Program at CHS. Thank you.
Welcome. Glad you could add this to your very busy plate.
Hi, everyone. I'd like to start off with just by congratulating Erin on making it through our new application process that we started this year, and she made it through our interviews. And everyone was great that applied, but we just decided on Erin. And I hope everyone's doing well at CHS. I'm happy to say we are all settled in with our classes and activities, with many clubs already meeting regularly and sports in full swing. And definitely looking forward to our 4-day weekend this weekend. This month, something new that's happening at CHS is that all students, freshmen through juniors, will be taking the PSAT, starting with freshmen tomorrow and sophomores and juniors later in the month. With last month having our first 5-day weeks, we've been implementing our win days, which have also been used for our homecoming pep rally, which was very fun. And yesterday, our band was at the Salem Band Show at Pinkerton Academy. Coming up on the 17th, the orchestra and jazz band have a performance in the auditorium, and I'm sure they would love the support of anyone who can go. And also coming up, we will be having our late picture day on the 23rd and 24th. And thanks, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your month.
Thank you. Superintendent.
Thanks. Thank you. Like the students, we've also had a very busy month, so I'm going to try to get through some of the things that we've been involved in. But I first want to alert you to, we're really pleased that we're partnering with the Goodwill Northern New England, that we've had 2 folks from that serve on AmeriCorps. We had one this summer, worked with the Director for Student Wellness all summer. Got the bug, and now he's a paraprofessional for us at one of the schools. We also got a second young woman from AmeriCorps who's serving with AmeriCorps, and she's working at Runlet, working with students. So it's been great. We've always wanted to partner with AmeriCorps and have students in our campus, and so that's happening. So I'm appreciative that we have that opportunity. Just a quick note, on September 28th, we had a great meeting with the Chamber of Commerce. I think we were pleased. Jack and myself, along with our president, Pam, presented to the Chamber with 30 or 40 folks. We kind of highlighted all the activities in the district, the things that we've implemented, the new programs, shared some materials. Also shared our annual report with them for the sort of unveiling of our annual report, and was well received by them. And they asked us back next year, so I guess that was a good thing, right? So we know that it's great to be able to be in attendance with them. I left some annual reports up at the table, so if anybody doesn't have one, I just want to make sure that everyone takes advantage and grabs a report. I think that we've got great feedback on it. It's our first attempt to communicate to our community, to the stakeholders and folks in the citizen in the community, and I think it was really important that we do that. Also on the table is a code so that you can use the code and you don't have to take a hard copy, because it's on our website, and you can go right to the website to see our annual report. We are going to get annual reports out into the community over at Parks and Recreation, at City Hall, and at the library. So we're actually producing more copies of the report so we can do that. So anyway, please feel free to take one on your way out tonight. I'd like to give a special shout out to Terry Wolf, who really, our Director for Communication, who worked tirelessly to get this report done and collect all the data that needed to be done, and I really appreciate it. And of course, Bridget was right there helping wherever she could. And finally to Glenna Constantine, who is at our printing shop. You know, she does all the printing for us in the district. And trust me, we were it was getting close to the timeline when we needed to be done, and she was there to support us and make the copies for us and do whatever Terry needed to make sure we had everything ready for our meeting and be able to distribute to the community. So special shout out to those 3 people. I really appreciate it. Update on another committee for your middle school project. As you know, that we had another committee that you all voted on to have, and that was a traffic and transportation working group. So we have received a number of applicants, and we will be meeting on October 24th, 5:30 here, with included in that will be the Director for Transportation, Terry Crotty, will be here along with Matt from the office so that we can support that work. Our architect and engineers will be here also to help, and the folks that did some of the traffic studies, both at the Broken Ground site as well as the Runlet site. We're waiting to finalize those, and we'll have those for that meeting. So I just want to thank everyone who sent in applications, and folks will be notified who serve on the committee. Let's see. I'm going to kind of pass quickly to Kim because I wanted to just give you a quick update. As you know, on Friday is a teacher workshop day. So Kim, if you could just do a quick update.
Very quickly, I believe that you did receive some communique from Kathleen last week. So October 11th is also what is considered NEA Day, National Education Association, and that's the association that provides, professional association that provides annual professional development to anyone in the state. So this year, we're actually hosting the NEA conference at Concord High School using the west side of the building, anticipating lots of traffic. The Concord High itself will be using the east side of the building, and the focus for their professional development is around continuing to training the restorative justices, restorative practices. Are you going to be there?
I participated in the last training.
Okay. So they're going to continue with restorative justice training as well as continuing with doing some curriculum mapping. You'll know that on our strategic plan to align curriculum K through 12 is a priority. So we're starting at the high school, moving down. And then we'll be doing iReady training, which is iReady classroom math training, continuing with that for teachers in K through 5 at Broken Ground and Millbrook School. We'll be doing some more Schoology training at Runlet and at the Concord High for teachers who are wanting a little more practice and become more proficient with the tool. And that's sort of the focus. And so everyone had the option of either going to NEA, that's an option for anyone. All of our educational assistants are working that day, and they are all going to be participating in the NEA conference.
Good. Everybody good with that? Just to continue, on October 10th, which is Thursday afternoon, with Brenda's help, we scheduled a walking tour for some of the folks who live on North Curtisville. They were most interested in understanding the boundaries, where the road comes in, what kind of, as you know, they sent a letter asking about fencing. So we'll have a little walking tour for the folks on North Curtisville. Joining me, of course, will be Matt and our construction folks and our engineers, so that they'll have a good idea about what that looks like and be able to answer their questions. So more than happy to join us. It's 3:30, and we're meeting on the cul-de-sac of the North Curtisville Road. So we'll hopefully we'll be able to answer folks' questions. Let's see, I'm just going to keep going until you tell me to stop.
Keep going.
Keep going.
So this morning, Fern Seiden, who is your Director for Student Wellness, and I met with Senator Hassan down in Manchester. Senator Hassan was here to hear more about Project Aware, which is a grant that we received, as you recall. That's a 5-year grant, $1.6 million a year for the purpose of supporting wellness in our district, specifically around mental health issues. That gives us an opportunity to continue partnering with NAMI, who's a great group, great support, helps us with training, along with Riverbend, who helps us with clinicians. And so the work will be focused on training of our staff, working with families, and just getting out into the community to help folks around the issues around mental health. One of the focuses that Fern has is that we'll be working with our groups with the Centria and some other groups, so that we make sure that we are working with our families and they understand the kinds of resources that are available for their students and families as well. So pretty happy with that. There were 3 districts that received that grant. And we're in our first year of the grant. Laconia and Manchester are in the second year of their grant. So they're a little bit ahead of us, but we'll catch up, I'm sure. John's going to do a quick overview of special ed numbers, because that's been on everybody's mind lately. So I'm going to give it to you, John.
Should we refer to your handout, John?
So yes, I provided you with a handout. It's a quick little kind of just down and dirty numbers, because that's kind of the world of student services. I live in numbers. I wanted to kind of just update the board kind of where we are with some newly enrolled students that have come into Concord, which is wonderful that we have students continuing to come in to work with us. But in the end, those numbers do affect some of our budgeting, which you'll hear about when Jack does his budget report in a few minutes. And this. So it felt very busy in our office, and I said that over the last year. It's like, wow, another.
Can you put the numbers up so others who are here can see them? Or those watching at home?
Just give me 1 second. Yep.
Thank you.
Because it's some compelling information.
I've created a technical challenge, I'm sorry.
We're full of those tonight.
I'm
Don't
sorry,
even
just-
worry about it.
He has it, just have to.
Just got to play with my computer here.
All good.
Here we go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so as you see, it's been, I get a lot of requests. Every time we register at our buildings, just so you understand. So a lot of times, the registration's done at the building, student comes in, a lot of questions around what are their needs, what do they have? All that transfers into, do they have an IEP, and are they a student with a disability? And if that happens, again, a request comes over to transfer records into our state system, pull them from another district, put them in ours. So those happen throughout the year. So over the course of, from July of '23 to June of '24 last year, that happened 94 times. We had 94 students with disabilities that moved into the Concord School District. 55 moved out, which left a delta of 39, if you just did numbers in that simple way. And then for our preschool, very similarly, we had 44 newly enrolled students, 8 moved out, 36 was our delta. And then total, so 138, if you look at it, moved in, newly enrolled, 63 moved out, 75 was our delta. Then this year, since July 1, which has been interesting, I'll just say, it's been open doors, and a lot have come in. We have a thing called October 1st count, where we have to give our count to the state on how many students identify with special ed, which affects our funding, and it does every year. So we have to be really solid in the numbers by October 1st. So that's why you have a handout today, because my office has been making sure we're very accurate with this. So we had 31 students this summer come into Concord to newly enroll, 19 move out, delta of 12, and then 42 preschoolers, you see, which is a pretty high number, and 5 move out, so 37. And again, total 73 moved in the course of July till now, 24 move outs, 49 Delta. And then I just thought it was important to include in this, like, so how many kids graduate? How many kids move on from us? So there is 29 graduates last year with students with disabilities in the course of the year. And then it was important to show that the law changed. And if you remember, the law changed and it was funded through the DOE for 1 year, which was last year. And one student we have was 22. Well, lo and behold, we have 6 now that we fund that are 22 and in programs and doing great. So it's wonderful they're doing that. That's it. So in a nutshell, we have an additional 114 students identified with disabilities in our schools.
Is that the 75 plus the 49?
Yes.
So it's 124.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
You have a child check coming up too, I thought I saw.
Yes. Yes, we have to do that, required by law, we have to do that throughout the year.
And so that's a place where people can go to get evaluated, whether their
Correct.
children might be eligible for preschool or services once they start school?
Correct.
And where is that and when?
My sign is on the door over there. Again,
Sorry.
sorry, I didn't,
Okay,
I can
never
find that
mind.
out by the end of the meeting, I'll go up and grab the sign off the door.
I think it's on the front door.
Matt's
It's on the
going.
front door.
It's on the front?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Postings.
Yeah, I will show the posting. But again, that's kind of where we stand right now. I'm coming to the Finance Committee on the 16th, and I'll have a much more detailed kind of, so what's the impact of this? What financially am I looking to do now? What financially should we plan for budget, things like that? Because 124 is a significant amount of students moving into our district. And with that, you will see my related services budget is pretty high right now, and you'll see that red number. And some of that's because when they move in, I needed to bring people in to support the students and their needs that they have now. You know, and that's kind of got to happen where we are. So that's been starting to happen throughout the year. By law, we have to honor that IEP that comes in, and then we do a 30-day review of each IEP of these students that comes in with the families and sit at the table with the families to see now in our system, how do we support them the same or differently? But that happens with all 124 of these cases.
Ms. Hastings and Ms. Meeker?
So this 124 is in addition to the students that we knew that we had last year. Is that correct?
This is a combination of last year and this year together.
So
Yes.
124 students in the school district total.
That have been new to our district previously.
Well,
we knew
that's what I'm
them.
asking. They
Yes.
weren't part of our district last year.
Some of them were.
Some of them were. They came in throughout the year. That's
Throughout
what
the
that
year,
says,
last
throughout the
year.
year.
Okay.
So yes, so there was 94 students enrolled last year that were from K to 12, and then preschool there was 44 students
Okay. What are our numbers in total?
for this year.
Yeah. If it's not too hard to find.
Nope, I can pull it out right here because I brought it with me.
It's like you knew you were gonna ask.
And I said, I'll go into a lot more
Right.
detail when we go to finance, because I think that's where the impact is. But, just give me 1 second, please.
Well, John's doing that clearly. There's a concern. We have a concern, and John wanted to be able to at least address the numbers with you tonight, right? He's gonna go to the finance and talk about what we need, but clearly we need help. And we in terms of staff and financially, staff is money, and so I know that John will discuss that with the finance, get detailed, and we'll bring it to you at your November meeting with a plan.
Do you happen to know what? Oh, go ahead.
789 students that are K to 12, and we have 77 students total in our preschool. But those aren't every day. Those are some coming for speech, some come in 2 days a week, some come in 3 days a week. That's the rotating throughout the program.
What percentage of our population is that?
We're at 20% right now.
And is that normal throughout the state,
That's national.
nationally?
Right now, about nationally where we are right now. We're a little higher in some of our elementary schools, but average about 20%.
And I've noticed the last couple of years, it has gone up. I mean, I would say the last 2 years, you've seen it jump from 17, 18 to 20.
Okay.
That actually brings me to my question. I'm wondering if maybe we could have maybe a 5-year window of totals when you come to finance, just to, because a number is just a number unless it's a comparison. I'm sure you've got it. I know you do. So it would just
Ready
be
for
super
this.
helpful
He
to
does.
look at it in terms of like expanded
Yeah,
costs, expanded.
Yeah, and typically in my budget book, every year, I continue to put that in there. That's something you'll see in the budget again. I keep a running 5-year average of all the expenditures and all the things that we do with that.
And then, I mean, obviously we can get into the weeds, but I'm also just curious about the increase in the cost of services as well, because we may be talking about 1 or 2 additional children, but the cost to serve them, I think, has gone up significantly, so.
Significantly,
we can
and
have that
need has
conversation.
gone significantly, with nursing, with BCBA's, with.
Severity is.
Severity is increased totally in what we're seeing in kids coming in, and we saw it, we knew it was coming. I've been keeping the board that preschool, well, they've got older every year, I've said that. So now they are enrolled in our schools, it's part of what it is. We're Concord, and we have a lot of services in our area, and it's attractive, and our schools do a really amazing job with students of all abilities, and I think that this is something that we're seeing this, and unfortunately, there's a price tag to that, and that's kind of what it is, but I want to keep you as informed as I can of when it happens, and this is kind of a window into that.
Yeah, thank
Ms.
you.
Campbell and Ms. Robinson?
Do we have attrition rates for paras or not necessarily?
Not huge attrition rates of paras, no, I would say, no. Really spattering of 1 or 2 or 3 a year, really, that happens in that fact, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
I forgot my question, but I know how to find you.
Mr. Richards?
Yeah, so
Oh, I remember it now.
I'm correct, just clarify for me, and that is that we cannot turn down anyone, we take everyone in.
Correct.
However, alternate schools, whether they're private schools or charter schools, they don't do this, they would send their folks to us.
Privates don't need to take, they
don't need to
don't
take
have to,
anybody.
but the other ones all do. The other ones have to
Okay.
accept, and we have a good number of students in charter schools too that we provide services there for too. And we have great partnerships with our charter schools, and we do an MOU every year to make sure that we're on the page with costs and everything that happen. That's a state law that we have to do an MOU with all of them, and Jessica McKay, our director of out-of-district programs, has done a nice job and have those all in place.
Great, look forward to the finance meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think part of what Jim's question is leading into is that we do have kiddos who do not attend school in our district, but the district is legally obligated to meet the needs of those students because their current school cannot. So though we have a specific count, there are other students that are not reflected in an ADM that we are accommodating on a regular basis. And we have no choice but to do so, and those kiddos, deserve the resources that we have. I also wanted to address like this increase. John, would you say that an increase in students who are requiring sort of special accommodations is not necessarily that the population of those kiddos is increasing, but we're just getting better at catching them, and we're getting better at evaluating what student needs are. So as a result of knowing better and doing better, we ultimately have an increase in better accommodating student need?
Yes, and I would say it's not an or, it's an and.
Okay.
I think it's an and yes, we are seeing students with more significant needs. Just our medical professions have improved. Our early identification within the medical field has improved.
Right.
We're seeing kids that come to us that have early onset identification of deafness, blindness, medical needs, diabetes. We're seeing this, like, where typically, in my past history as an educator, wouldn't have saw it, or kids, manifested something more in school. Now they're getting early on diagnosed, so we know it coming in.
Nice.
And that's what's changed, and I think it's a tribute to our partners in the health things too. So just quickly, for children from birth to age 5, October 15th, January 24th, snow day of January 31st, Abbott, Downing, and Beaver Meadow and Millbrook schools from 8 to 11 o'clock.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Child Check Clinic.
Any other questions on this topic?
So I'm done, my report. Does the board have any questions for my report?
I have one that Kim touched on. I know we are trying to implement a new technology system for our schools, Schoology. hopefully it will all be great and it'll all be linked together. I have to say that I heard from a tremendous number of parents last week, just totally frustrated with, are we still on Teacher Ease? How do I get in? I can't find my kid. What am I supposed to be doing? I can't remember the name of the app we use to pay for school lunch. And it's not easily found on our website. That information is, you can't go to one place and say, what are the 6 apps that I need to use?
Ooh, yeah.
So I think that would be good, but I also think we need some, and I know you're working on it and you have a plan and it's part of the PDD, but we're not gonna be using Teacher Ease anymore. I think we need to communicate that with parents who are looking there for information, and then explain how they're gonna get on and what it's gonna do. So that's more of a statement than a question, but I warned the superintendent.
Do you want me to respond? We do have a really comprehensive rollout, and part of that rollout was to hold off with informing parents until this Friday, because it's already started at the high school. And Jay's coming up to the mic, I see. We've already using Schoology, and we've informed the parents at the high school and did a little training at Open House. Runlet Middle School, our goal was to get more teachers trained, more proficient with the tool. Last year was a soft rollout, and anyone could be trained all year long, and Mr. Crummine made himself available up to both schools. There were more early adopters at the high school. The plan was to send a message out to parents this Friday on how to access Schoology, that Teacher Ease has gone away, and how to access grades. So rather than having to go to Google Classroom for your courses, for your child's course, and see it there, and then go to Teacher Ease for the grades, it'll all be housed in Schoology. And that explanation was going out on Friday. What ended up happening was some ambitious teachers got early adopters, got ahead of the game a little bit, and parents have come to find out that this tool is replacing Teacher Ease, and it got ahead of our communication system, which I apologize for. And we have really broken down all the steps to how parents can access their child's courses and grades. And a video. We have a training video as well.
Oh, they'll be so excited.
Yeah.
That was a big
And
request.
Is it offered in multiple languages? Or what languages is that offered in?
Thank you, everyone. I'll just add a little bit. One of the things, we're definitely going to make sure we target all our families, and we have a lot of people working behind the scenes to make sure this is actually a smooth rollout. It's hard to bring up again. You might recall I had some significant challenges with Power School over the summer in terms of people having access to Power School, particularly our new students and families in 6th grade. So I've been very strategic and thoughtful about how we do this, because I don't want to make the same mistakes that I take responsibility for over the summer when we put things out via Power School. So our goal behind the scenes is to make sure we have all our families in Power School, which families will need to access Schoology. So, Kim, Tom C., there's a lot of people behind the scenes, my digital learning specialist, Dana Folds, we're all working behind. So when we release this information on Friday, that people have all the support. I will say in advance, my expectation is that if people need help to contact us, that's what we're there for. So that's the plan this Friday. We're going to push all this information out. My thought was we would allow teachers and students to kind of practice together. So when this information does go home on Friday, that we have some students that can help with their families at home. And also we do have some early adopters. I appreciate the enthusiasm of our staff saying, hey, this stuff is in Schoology, but again, we want to make sure this is as successful as possible when this information does go out. So I appreciate everybody's patience in advance. We do have a plan, and I can't emphasize enough, I do know there will be some bumps when we think of some of our families in terms of the communication, but I want to be very public. We're going to be there to help you and support you. Kids are enthusiastic about it at school, so I do feel like at this point, like the water's like kind of tipping over the dam a little bit, but I was I think, strategic in terms of saying that this is when the release date will be. So thanks in advance for everyone's patience, and I'm confident this is going to go as well as it can possibly be. And I also want to thank, is he still here? Yeah. Principal Herbert. It was also nice to kind of let him jump into this first at the high school. So we will be dialoguing this week if there's any lessons learned that I can make sure I don't repeat on Friday. So,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Principal Richard.
Thank you. I don't know how any of the apps work, but I trust you completely.
Well, let's see what happens
Send-
Friday.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we do have like a lot of great directions, and again, a lot of people like Tom C. again specifically, who's worked with the middle school and high school, has helped out a great deal. A lot of time and energy. We also have, I would say, early adopters at the middle school have been working with staff. Friday, we're offering time to any staff who need that additional support in the afternoon to make sure that I want my staff to be able to answer the questions too. It's always easy for the early adopters, but I want all my staff to feel comfortable that when families do have questions after Friday that they can answer those
Get
questions.
Keegan Labby
correctly.
on this.
What's that?
Hire Keegan.
Yeah, it's funny, yeah.
He'll
He
explain
would
it to
be-
everybody.
We have some ELO opportunities
Yeah, right
probably
there.
at the middle
Yeah,
school with some of this
exactly.
stuff too. When it's a great idea.
Student
So,
navigators.
Thank you.
thanks again, everyone, for your
Thank
patience.
you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate your work.
Yeah, my question's for Superintendent Murphy and administration. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed tonight. I don't know if you all are, about some of the costs that I've heard tonight. I'm hearing that we've got new costs for programming. We obviously need a new middle school. We've got some Memorial Field costs coming up, and it just feels like a lot. And I think that at some point, we all have to look at this and say, how do we make any of this work? I think we worked really hard last year setting the budget and trying to keep it low. I think we did a fairly good job with that, but we can set a budget the year before that's fairly low, but if things like this happen and we get all of this information, suddenly that great work that we did before isn't as useful. And I don't know do we have a plan? What are we gonna do? When do we get an opportunity to sit and say, where are we going?
Well, so we have our finance report from Jack. We also, we finalized the budget officially at the end of the
Yes.
month, so we will be
Right.
revisiting, I imagine, all of this in the next several weeks. Not the middle school, but the special.
But I do think it's something
student-
we have to hold
Oh,
in
yeah.
mind when
Yes.
we're thinking about all of
Oh,
this,
yeah.
because these are big asks, and it's a lot of money. We're talking a lot of money, and I think sometimes it can start to feel not real when you just start talking about such big numbers. So I just want us to be aware of that and help me understand it, because I'm feeling
There's
very
some
overwhelmed.
things you don't have control of. I mean, this summer, I was sitting in for John, and I was visiting classrooms to observe, and I knew we had a lot of new students with very challenging needs, and I can't say no.
Right.
So we've been using the contingency to cover those. Jack dropped the contingency budget on my desk this afternoon. I looked everywhere to find him. I think he was hiding. But it's just, you're right. But you ultimately have the decision-making power. You're going to decide what you can or can't do. You can or can't do the field. You can or can't do increases in the budget for a new program, maybe a new language arts program. I'm just speculating, and I don't think that's going to be the case, but you know what I'm saying. In terms of the apps that we've put into place, those are already in your budget, so you've already budgeted for those. Schoology, and we've already had Power School, so those are already in place, and we're getting rid of Teacher E. So one of the things why the teachers chose that was because they knew they could have one tool for, to fit the kids' coursework, their work, instead of Google Classroom. So that's gone, which helps us with security, because you all know Google can be much more insecure. So But ultimately, Brenda, the board's decision-making is in play. You have the responsibility to make decisions about how much to spend, and set the priorities. And it's a lot, I get that. A lot of things have been put off for a long time, too, you know? Prior to 17, you hadn't really had a chance to do a lot of big projects here because of just situations, right, and events that occurred, and then you had your pandemic for over 2 years, and I know nobody wants to talk about the pandemic anymore, I certainly don't, but it had an impact on all the decision-making that you had to do. Instead, you were trying to figure out how you were gonna keep the kids going and learning in whatever that looked like, so it's very difficult time. You're not alone. Districts across the state are feeling the same thing. That's why it's important that the state, our state, step up and provide an adequacy in terms of funding.
So during the finance committee meeting coming up, and I realize that's when most of these things are, John, you're gonna be talking also about what the state contribution regarding, individuals are, and, how that affects us as well.
We just got notice today of Medicaid money, so we know we just got another check for
Federal
almost
check,
$500,000 in Medicaid, so, charges. So we're doing all that. You'll get that information to help you make those decisions, but in some cases, your hands are tied. I hate to say that. But there are other areas that you have the decision-making role. You have to do it, and it's hard. It's very hard, because you want to do it all. I know you do, but you can't.
John, will you bring to the finance how many students we're providing services for that are in charter schools, and what, if any, reimbursement we get from the state for that? We good? Okay, Jack, you've had quite the warm-up.
You'll get the real warm-up on the 16th.
Yeah.
No, this is just a snapshot. So if you look on page 23 of your board packet, if you remember, I said last month, because we step up and it was the first payroll, if you remember in the teacher line, there was $32 million available, and I said there is not. Okay, as you can see, there's $212,000 left. Okay, because we've encumbered with all the contractual commitments for the year. And these numbers will fluctuate throughout the year as people either come and go, take leaves of absence, whatever happens.
Jack, I'm
So,
sorry, are you
yep.
gonna put it up here?
I can. I hope.
Sorry. Do a phone pan.
Doesn't like it.
You sent it to John?
No, it's not a file I can send. Is it on the budget? It's in, yeah, it's in the, yeah, you can try, sorry. It's on page 23 of. Next time I'll just have a wired cable, so it's easier. It's gonna take me a minute, so I'm gonna get the teams.
Okay. Jack, you can keep talking though.
Okay. So, nothing in the salaries that jumps out unless you have questions at the moment. As I move through the salary portion, which is the 6/1000s, I move into 6/2, which are benefits. One of the things that is running high, we are self-insured for dental. Okay? Typically that ran between 70 and 75 a month. It's now running between 80, 85, 90 a month. So the utilization is up. We are also seeing that in the healthcare. We should be running about 92, and I'll have more details when we talk on the 16th. 92, 94%, we're running at 102% utilization, okay? So that doesn't help when you are going in for your renewal, okay? Two of the biggest drivers, I'm sorry, but the things that were drivers in our claims, and two things that will, are preemie babies and heart. And we had 2 preemie babies and 1 heart issue, and that drove claims. They average about $450,000. So it's, we monitor these things monthly with our consultant and keeps an eye on this, but.
And I just want to say, just because we're not calling out any staff member and their babies deserve the health care, these are realities, but
Exactly.
I just,
Yep.
I want to be careful about getting too close to details like
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
And the fault is with our healthcare system.
Right.
Okay, so, moving down, when we were talking about
Insurance.
John, right? On page 3 of 9. See the professional services for pupils, 800 negative at the moment. But you can see the encumbrances is 2.2 million. So the thing you have to understand, again, when a child comes in and the services are ordered under the IEP, we encumber them for the length we plan on having them. This changes almost weekly. Okay? Moving down, nothing else that jumps out at me that I'm concerned about. We may have to move some money to fix some things, but other than that, nothing else in the budget so far, and we're only 3 months in July. Yeah, almost 3.5 months in. Okay?
The only issue too that we have concerns about is obviously transportation, not our regular transportation. Again, these are requirements in terms of transporting kids via our vans. Jack and John will have a proposal to you regarding those vans. I think that's a way that we may be able to control costs. Right now, we're at the mercy of any vendor that provides that for us, right? And trust me, the expense is incredible. And so both John and Jack have been working at gathering data so you can cost data so we can get an idea about what that would look like. And again, that will work its way through the finance and up to you. But we're going to have to do something to be proactive in terms of trying to handle those costs associated with transportation.
When is that hand proposal coming?
Well, I'm
16th?
assuming. Yeah,
So it's
on
gonna
our
be part of
finance
finance?
committee,
Okay.
right, yeah.
It's going to be an exciting meeting.
Yes, it will be.
Get ready, folks. All right. Anything else, Jeff?
No.
Great. Thank you, John. Thank you. All right. Instructional committee, we have to approve the minutes, and you have a professional development master plan. Linda? Yes. And we will vote on the master plan after the public hearing.
Okay. All right, let me find that, sorry. Okay. Kim, do you want to start going over that?
Sure.
So every 5 years, we're required by the state to submit a new master plan, and a master plan is essentially a master plan around professional development. And so we're due now to submit this. Last year, we had a very large committee that's required by the DOE for us to have representation from, we had ed assistants, classroom teachers, central office staff, teachers, and we spent the year going through the current master plan and essentially updating it. There's not a lot of work other than updating it because there are requirements from the state where you have to follow a certain template and you have to share certain information. So while it may look like it's very fancy, it's not my design, it's a template from the state. The challenge here was to figure out a way to share with you the updates. And so what I've provided in the board packet and what John is putting up on the screen right now are anything in yellow is new or changed. So clearly we had our strategic plan, we had our vision for professional development, a mission statement, and we had our portrait of learner that was new. And then essentially, we go page by page and we update any information that has to do. For example, we're required to say what are our data sources that we're collecting when we are, when teachers are doing their own 3-year professional development plan. And you have to lay those out with a lot of specificity. And Brenda, you would appreciate the fact that the data sources that we were using 5 years ago are very different than what we're using now.
Oh, absolutely.
So all of those were changed. The language was updated, And anything that was specific to whether it was district-wide professional development or individual teacher professional development. So when you go through these, what is it, 70 pages, I apologize, you'll see where the highlights are, and that's the proposed changes that we're making. We have the opportunity to submit things if we want to do updates within that 5-year plan, that 5-year timeline, if anything changes that's significant. Okay, so for example, you'll see on the page that John's projecting right now, it has dial. We don't use dial anymore. So it's those kind of updates. So the committee feels as though this is our final rendition to present to the board for approval. And then the next step would be that we would send an electronic and a physical copy to the department, and they are the ones that stamp the approval or say, we'd like you to work more on such and such. So that's what we would be seeking, whether it's today, it's a long night, or whether it's the next school board meeting. What I need from you is permission to be able to send this to the state.
Questions?
I'd like to just say that Concord has got a history of very developed professional development. I think it's something to be really proud of here, and if this group has gone through this and feels comfortable with it, I would have no problem voting on this and saying, go ahead and sign it. But I don't know how the rest of the board feels.
Yeah, I feel like we went with a fine-tooth comb. We broke into subcommittees. John was one of them. We all took a section and worked on it, and then came together to share our sections, and
Do board members have questions now? We're gonna bring this up again after public comment for a vote.
Do we need to make a motion before public comment?
No, but we do need to make a motion to accept the minutes of September 23rd from the instructional committee.
I'll make that motion to accept the
Moved by
minutes.
Ms. Hastings, is there a second?
Second?
Second by Ms. Robinson. Any questions, discussions, amendments, deletions? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Communications and policy also has lots and lots of
Indeed,
things
everybody
for people to read. While you're getting to your pages, I'll accept a motion to approve the meeting minutes from Communications and Policy on September 18th.
I move that we accept the minutes.
Ms. Meeker, is there a second?
Second.
By Ms. Robinson.
Ms. Boucher.
Oh, Ms. Boucher, sorry.
It's okay.
Any discussion, amendments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes.
What you have before you today is first reading for what we're calling the 300 series, which is a bunch of policies regarding sort of the financials of the district, from our management plan to the various trusts that we have, to how we charge for school lunch, how we put things out to bid, et cetera, et cetera. We're not voting on anything tonight. You'll see in your packet a current version and then an amended version for first reading for you to review. You'll see that largely there's just very minor technical changes. It's, you know, making sure things are gender neutral or adding semicolons where there were none, just for funsies. And then you'll see a couple of extensive changes in policies such as fraud prevention and fiscal management. Things obviously have gotten more sophisticated in that realm, so changes were needed, as well as the school lunch, the meal plan policy. Things to note is we've just really focused on equity in that system, making sure it's clear what children are eligible for. For instance, they're not eligible for a la carte items if they do not have funds, but they always receive a hot meal. And we've removed language that when families are in debt, we have the option to take them to small claims. That has been stricken. So I recommend that you take a look at those. If you have any questions before second reading, please let me know, and we can offer amendments when it is time.
Thank you for all of this work. Holy moly.
Thank you. And the finance committee, I believe, worked with you, so.
Yes, so this
thank
was a
you
joint
both.
effort of finance and policy, so nearly everybody's touched it. That's-
All right, we have 30 minutes for public comment. Please sign in, state your name for the record, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Fewer.
Already signed in.
Can someone grab a sheet if someone's... Thank you, Matt.
Matt.
Did Van leave his water bottle? Yes.
Mrs. Michlowitz?
I'm Claire Michlowitz. I live in Ward 10, but I'm actually here to read a letter from Ellen Kenny because she was unable to be at the meeting here tonight. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you, though. I know you have an overwhelming job here, and I appreciate everything that you do. So this is the message from Ellen. To the Concord School Board, one rationale for not rebuilding at Runlet, which school board members have repeatedly fallen back upon in trying to rationalize this decision, is that going to school while a building is being constructed will be distracting for our students. This is followed every time by hand-wringing information that these particular children have already had their education disrupted by COVID. I would like to point out that the third grade classes all over the district lost part of preschool and part of their kindergarten year to COVID. By anyone's measure, crucial years for academic and social development. One of the biggest lessons that we as educators learned during COVID is that small class sizes are a major factor in children's academic success. We learned this because that year we had classes of 10 or 12 children in person 2 days a week and online 2 days a week. This is not just teacher opinion, but borne out by 2021 end-of-year report cards and our access scores in 2022, a year in which we had unprecedented 17 of Broken Ground's multi-language learners reach English proficiency. Despite our understanding of importance of small class size, the school board made the decision last spring to funnel 7 classes of the Millbrook second grade, whose early learning was disrupted by COVID, into only 5 third grades at Broken Ground after cutting 2 teaching positions. Why are we not doing what we know is best for these current students, while at the same time falling back on the, quote, COVID cohort as an important rationale for an incredibly unsound, environmentally destructive middle school project? And after this $170 million middle school is built, will we ever be able to afford smaller classes? Signed, Ellen Kenny, 57 Franklin Street.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Massini?
Good evening. Bob Massini. I am parent of a 2024 Runlet graduate who's now at Concord High School. I want to make just 2 comments. First, on April 9th, I attended a forum at the Concord Women's Club led by City Councilor Stacy Brown and School Board member Liz Boucher. Ms. Boucher said the following to a question I asked about the destruction of forest and wildlife habitat at Broken Ground. She said, "Bob, I'm just as frustrated, and I agree with you. That was not my vote, and I will do everything to gain your trust. That was not my vote, and I hope to hear from you in the future so that I can vote with what I'm hearing the public to okay. Can I say one thing about the 8 acres? I think because I didn't make this vote, I would have loved to have seen it at Runlet. I hope that everyone can hold the school board members who voted that way accountable for why they made that decision. I hope we can hold them accountable to just 8 acres, because that's what I'm looking to do." End of quote. 2 Saturdays ago, Nobis engineers reported that the amount of forest and wildlife habitat to be destroyed at Broken Ground is not 8 acres, but 3.5 times that size, 29 acres. My second comment, and this ties into what was just said, some have expressed concern that rebuilding at Runlet will inconvenience and challenge the students. The Runlet Handbook says we have 3 core values: resilient, mindful, safe. Baked into Runlet's identity is that kids are resilient. Do we really believe our own core values? My wife and I adopted our oldest daughter at age 11 from a Russian orphanage. She had grown up abused, on the streets, and unschooled. Here, she learned English, graduated middle school, obtained a GED, and became a licensed medical assistant. She's a wonderful mother of 4. Kids are resilient. The challenges involved in the building of a new school pale in comparison to what our daughter went through. Resilience is a quality to celebrate and foster in kids, and it's crucial to their education. Shielding them from challenges, removing obstacles, smoothing paths actually does them a disservice. As adults, they will face adversity. That's life. And so having learned to rely on their resilience will serve them well. Thank you.
Ms. Brown?
Thank you. So I just want to talk about this annual report that was handed out, and there's lots of copies. It was published September, but the information is actually 20 months old. I was looking through this, and there's a lot of misinformation. I would actually recommend that you print this after next month when the information is more current. On page 23, it shows that there's an HVAC replacement at the high school for $8 million. But just last month, you approved a bond of 17.2 or million for HVAC for the high school. It says that in Rundlet, the middle school is 176 million. It also lists in here 7.5 million to replace the roof, in addition to the new school. And then in 2025, there's a bus lane reconfiguration for 2.5 million. So it's unfortunate that this information is outdated because, there's a lot of good information in here, but I have a lot of questions. And it goes back to that 300 series that Ms. Meeker mentioned. So the CHS HVAC was bonded at 17 million. Your own policy, number 322, states the district shall request competitive bids whenever the cost of the product or service is expected to exceed $20,000. Were there any competitive bids for a $17 million HVAC project? That's incredible. And what's not in this capital improvement plan? Memorial Field. And we just heard that it's $30 million. So thank you, Ms. Hastings, for being overwhelmed, because I am also overwhelmed at the cost that we're looking at. These numbers are not accurate. They're outdated. And when you go to the Women's Club, Ms. Walsh, I requested that you will share the numbers of how many students live within 1 mile of the proposed broken ground location, as well as the number of middle school students within 1.5 miles of Rundlet. Because in this report, I'm not sure exactly which page, on page 26, talks about free and reduced lunches, 43% of our student population. Now, I don't know if this is accurate because this is something that has to be applied every year, so I'm assuming maybe it's just gone up. So when you look at those numbers, who lives within a 1.5 mile radius of Rundlet, how many of those students also receive free and reduced lunches? For those that don't know, to receive free and reduced lunches, a family of 4 must make.
Ms. Brown.
No, it's not.
Yes.
Must make $57,720.
Ms. Brown, your time is up. Thank you.
Now it is.
Mr. Winnet, sorry. Tell us how. Winnet, I was right the first time?
Yeah, no, accents on the second. So I'm Steve Winnett from Ward 5, and I attended the tour of the proposed middle school site, was it 2 weekends ago now, with some of you? I shared some thoughts at the time about forests and polluted stormwater runoff and wanted to do so with the rest of you. I'm a professional environmental scientist and a former forester, and as such, I guess I'm the Lorax because I speak for the trees. Developing the broken ground site would include cutting down between almost 30 acres of forest, we now know. There's a lot of carbon stored in there. And aside from wooden planks that might be cut from the trees to be used for construction, the carbon in the rest of the trees, the needles, leaves, organic matter on the forest floor, and the upper layers of the soil would be released to the atmosphere as carbon dioxide and add to climate change. And we're not going to get that carbon back anytime soon. Even if you find a way to plant more trees in a place that doesn't already have them or do carbon trading, both of which are expensive, it's going to take decades to get that carbon back, while the stuff that gets released is going to contribute to climate change right now. And at a time when many Concord residents, and I'm sure it includes all of you, are concerned about climate change, which we see going on all around us, and ask the folks in Florida and Georgia and North Carolina about it if you don't believe it, this action goes in exactly the wrong direction. And at a time of unprecedented loss in forest land to development in the state, I'm dismayed that we in Concord would be responsible for so much loss in one action, when we have other choices, like the site at Runlet, which has all been already developed. Forests are an effective and efficient filter of water pollutants, a filter everyone in the city would lose if these 29 acres are cut down. And the development of this site would add pollutants to the environment through runoff, more fertilizer on athletic fields causing harmful algal blooms, more pesticides killing bees and butterflies, more salt on parking lots. At the recent site tour, someone explained to me the plan for dealing with runoff by building underground structures, and we heard about it through about the new athletic fields at the high school. Those are expensive and involve lots of plastic or construction at a time when there's rising concern about microplastics in the environment and its effect on human health. Does the school board really want to do that? These forests are also important for recreation, as we all saw when walkers and bikers went by us on the trail during the tour. Developing this site will also deprive people of all those trails that they use and have come to love. Forests are also excellent learning labs. Science is best taught where it can be seen in action, and these forests, with their trails, provide the existing schools up there with natural classrooms. They go away if the site gets developed, along with the birds, butterflies, toads, and deer, yes. It's not hard to notice that building in broken ground is bad for the environment, and we already have a site that won't cause any of that damage. Thank you very much.
Would anyone else like to testify? You could sign in.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Kate.
Welcome
Hi.
back. Good to see you.
My name is Kate West. I'm here to talk to you about a proposed resolution for the NHSBA Delegate Assembly that's coming up. I just wanted to come today to encourage you to sign on to that resolution. The one that's submitted by Hanover and Dresden school boards, and starts with, whereas all children deserve to be safe in New Hampshire schools, and whereas public education strives to encourage tolerance, acceptance, inquiry, and curiosity. Without continuing to read the resolution, I firmly believe that these are values that already align with us as a district. And I would just like to say, every time we take an opportunity to pause and question whether or not someone belongs, we are effectively making sure they feel like they don't. So thank you very much for hearing me out.
Thank you.
I did also just want to say as well that I would personally really love to see a working cooperative relationship between our city and our school board. Thank you.
Anyone else have anything to say? Public hearing none. We'll close the public hearing. Does anyone need a break? All right, we're going to take a quick 5-minute break and then we will restart. Before we do take a break though, there's a couple of things that came up that I just wanted to clarify. First, there's going to be, the building committee on Thursday will be talking about the landscaping for the site. It is not 29 acres, it is about 22 and a half. And then Ms. Kenny's letter mentions teachers at broken ground. And I think it's just important to clarify that the board complied with this class size policy and made the classes the same as at other elementary schools. And we then decided to relook at our class size policy. So just that, and we can take a 5-minute break. Thank you. Okay, we're going to call the meeting back to order. Before we move to our next item, I just wanted to clarify on the annual report. The annual report is for the 23-24 school year. The capital improvement plan referenced in there was one approved in 23. The HVAC number was when the original proposal was to phase the HVAC replacement at the high school. The board looked at this, we looked at the financing, and there was actually no financial benefit to the district of phasing it, so decided to go forward as one project, just to clarify that.
And that's the definition of an annual report.
We now have some votes in front of us on the PD master plan. We are not voting on the 300 policy series and the continuing and proposed NHSBA, New Hampshire School Boards Association resolutions. So we will start with the resolutions. I think first we might want to take a vote to affirm our support for all the existing proposals that we have supported in the past. And then we can go through the new proposed resolutions. If anyone wants to.
Are you talking about the ones we submitted?
No, I'm talking about, there's an existing.
They're continuing
The continuing resolutions. Is there any that anyone has an objection to? If not, did someone want to make a motion on existing?
I'll move that we vote in support of all existing NHSBA resolutions as they were presented to us in a previous meeting.
Great. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Campbell. Any discussion?
So that's the big stack?
Yes.
Yeah, that's just been there since 2007.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great. Okay, first resolution is the resolution submitted by the Hanover and Dresden School Board, asking the NHSBA to take a position in favor of ensuring equity and inclusion in all things, including for students based on their gender identity.
Do we have to make a motion? I'm sorry, Pam. Do we have to make a motion for each of these
Yes,
resolutions?
we do. Well, if we get to the point where we agree, but yes, we're probably gonna have to go through these one by one.
Okay, that's fine.
So, is there anyone who would like to make a motion?
I move that we accept the alternative resolution recommended by the School Boards Association that adds the lineup, including curricular programs, extracurricular programs, and co-curricular programs.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Boucher. Any discussion?
Can you explain, sorry.
That's okay.
I need a little more explanation on what.
On why
Is
we're
this
looking at this
13?
again.
Yes, it is 13, and there are two, the proposed resolution, and I believe the alternate resolution that was presented by the school board.
pages are stuck
So
together.
And
I'm
so
sorry.
she,
There we go.
and
All
so
right.
Sarah's motion was we support the alternative resolution offered by the NHSBA.
Didn't we already discuss this and vote on this a few meetings back?
Yeah, so.
And we did not
I'm
have
happy to
support of that?
clarify. So I believe the last time it came to a meeting in July, it was to invite the Concord School District to essentially approve the resolution as a co-sponsor. So right now, Hanover School Board voted to move forward with this resolution as a sponsor, Dresden as a sponsor, and now it's coming to us as the full slate to support it as a list of resolutions. So we are seeing the same language that we saw in July, but this is sort of just the next phase in that process. Concord is not listed as a co-sponsor of it because it did not move forward at the July meeting. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that was a good explanation,
Yes.
thank you.
But essentially, we're voting on the alternate resolution as opposed to the resolution submitted by the Hanover and Dresden School Board.
Yeah, so the the School Boards Association reviews the language of all of the resolutions that are submitted and then looks to see, do we already have existing resolutions that match this? Do we already have sort of existing protocol? And if that is the case, they just make sure that the resolution speaks to the pieces that are missing. So that's why they are, have an alternative resolution recommended by the School Boards Association, and they provide their rationale in there as to why. It already, for example, this one in particular already speaks to the School Boards Association's support for equity, inclusion, and anti-discrimination laws. This resolution also includes all classes protected under state law, so it goes a little bit further than the original declaration did. And that's their recommendation for language moving forward, so that it can be more comprehensive. Does that make sense?
Thank you.
Okay.
And you will see, I just passed around something that I had created in anticipation of having this conversation tonight. I didn't see the resolutions in the board book, so I just wanted to make sure we had the resolution, which is on, I believe, page 4. On the first page, I just wanted to, because I wasn't at the meeting where we voted on this before, I wanted to have a chance to just talk about what I would have talked about then, which is that we have existing policies that absolutely support what is in this resolution. You'll see on page 1 there is policy 690.1 around our athletic philosophy and guidelines. There is policy 162 regarding transgender and gender nonconforming students, which was actually just passed unanimously by the board in 2021. And also I just wanted to make note that our current Title IX from 2024 makes clear that discrimination on the basis of sex includes gender identity. So I just wanted to make sure we also understand that we're in a precarious position because of a recently passed state law, that if we comply with state law, we're not complying with federal law. And so I think as a board, I would absolutely want us to support legislation that makes these consistent and equitable for all students. If you're curious about what the state law says, I included it on page 3.
Further discussion?
I'll share my continued concern that if we have a policy that protects one group at the expense of another, then neither group is actually protected. We can argue all day long about whether vagina-bodied girls and penis-bodied girls are different when it comes to athletics. If you look at any school record board, if you look at participation in New Hampshire high school sports, currently you will see that there are no trans boys on boys' athletic teams, and that's because those girls who identify as boys but have their female bodies don't stand a chance of making a boys' team, let alone winning a state title. And so sex discrimination is occurring there because we are not demanding of the boys' athletic programs that they make concessions for female-bodied boys, trans boys, to participate. So their mental health is not addressed at all here. And number 2, we now have an increasing number season to season. As a high school coach and NHIAA committee member for many years, I'm very privy to this information. We have a decreasing number of vagina-bodied girls winning state titles and participating on sports teams than we do penis-bodied girls. So I understand there's 2 very, very different trains of thought. I just want the girls to know that I see it from that point of view, that I think that I don't want anyone excluded, but we are excluding people if we put gender identity ahead of sex when it comes to matters of the body.
Can I just go for a second? I certainly understand, having grown up at the beginning of the Title IX era, the difference this has made for women's sports and young women to be able to compete. I go back to why do we offer extracurricular programs and co-curricular and sports, and while I'm very proud of our athletes who win championships, that's not why I vote to fund those programs. I vote to fund those programs because of the values and the things that they teach children. They teach them about how to be a good teammate, how to be responsible, how to get along with people, how to solve conflicts, and move their bodies, which is important. And I think I think every student has the right to participate in that. And this is a complicated issue, and I get when we're playing for a one-on-one record, how it gets really, really complicated. And I don't have a solution for that. I do think, though, that is not what our job is. Our job is to provide equal opportunities for all our kids. And and we can't define, you know, how they identify. I've read through the NHIA guidelines. You know, they're very clear that this is not on a whim, that there is standards to be met. I've talked to some other coaches. I had an extensive conversation with a girls soccer coach from another town who plays in the same league as where we've seen all the controversies. So those are the reasons that I supported our policy in 2021, and why I'm going to support this.
Sports is not inclusive. You try out and make a team. So if you're not good enough, you don't make it. That's competitive athletics. Now, those are life lessons as well. So we're making a very clear choice to a lot of families with daughters right now. So I just want that clear from my mouth.
I think ultimately what we're dealing with is a constitutional issue and a right to bodily autonomy and a right to comply with Title IX. This law that exists in New Hampshire has already been challenged in court. There's already been a stay so that these girls can continue to play. I believe that we're going to move through that litigation with a win for trans people and all people.
It's not a win for girls.
Let's each take our turn to talk.
Yeah. I believe that you feel very strongly about this issue, Barb, and that any kind of like back and forth conversation is probably not going to resolve our issues about this. That being said, when it comes to a lawsuit, I would rather be fighting the state than the Fed. And we are dealing with federal constitutional right violations with this law. So I will continue to support the overturning of that law that violates people's constitutional rights. Full stop.
Further discussion, Ms. Meeker?
And I would just like to add that when we have these conversations, you know, we are talking about all of our kids, right?
Yes.
And we're talking about the way that they are perceived. And I want to make sure that we are speaking very carefully about our transgender girls and our transgender boys. On page 2 of the document that I distributed, I included definitions that we passed that are in our policy 162 that helps us identify the terms that we should be using when we're talking about our youth in this way. I don't think we should be referring to children's genitalia. I think that there are standard and best practices for terminology that we ask our teachers and staff and administrators to use. I think we should use those as well, because when families and children are listening, I don't want to cause harm. Secondly, I think that, you know, our policies speak for themselves, and I agree with Pam that, you know, all students should be given the opportunity to participate in athletic experiences. The total district athletic program should primarily focus on the continued development of students and prepare them for lifelong participation in sports. So we can work on the complex matters of how we include everyone, but I think our base should be that we are including everyone.
I would agree. And I will refer to assigned female and assigned male at birth. That makes people more comfortable.
I appreciate that.
Further discussion? Are we ready for a vote?
Mm-hmm.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Me.
6-2, motion passes. Next motion is from the Wilton Linden Borough Cooperative School Board on ensuring members' dues are not used for lobbying purposes. The NHSB response, they recommend against it and point out that they are already banned from using state funds for that. And if they can't lobby, then I'm not sure how they can represent us.
Mm-hmm.
So I will make the motion that we not support Wilton Linden Borough's,
And I'll second that.
and second by Mr. Richards. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. The next one is
So are
not really.
Can I just have a
Yep.
ask one question?
Sure.
So we're supporting, we're not we're not recommending the
Correct.
Wiltons. We're not saying we're supporting the NHSBA's recommendation, which is to not support.
Well, we
Right.
voted to
Does it
not
not-
support.
So it
when
doesn't
we're
matter
sitting in
which way
that
you don't have
room,
to.
I'm not gonna raise my hand in favor of it,
There-
regardless.
Okay, regardless of what.
I mean, basically,
There
we're
isn't
giving
an
It's just the
alternative.
wording
instructions.
of the,
Yeah.
it's just
It
the
can be,
wording
yeah, it
of
can
the.
be a pain
We
in the neck.
approve the disapproval.
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
Negative vote.
Yeah.
It's, I was just trying to understand the wording.
No, it's
Negative
legalese.
vote, that's what does it.
The next one is not really a resolution, so we can skip over it.
Yeah.
16 is ours. I will make a motion that we continue to support ourselves.
And I'll second that too.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Do we want to also say we would support their alternative, I guess is the question.
Yeah, that, okay, that's why I'm,
Yeah.
why I'm,
So,
Like, we're
do we
voting on
want
what
to
they're-
support the alternative to our resolution recommended by the Board of Directors of School Board Association?
Yeah.
yes, so moved.
Oh, so.
Seconded.
Moved by Ms. Boucher, seconded by Ms. Robinson. I was being too flip before. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Second is also submitted by us, number 17. The NHSBA points to their two existing resolutions and proposes an alternative that adds language saying it will support legislation that would allow enforcement of the Federal Gun-Free School Zones Act within New Hampshire. Is there a motion
So moved.
to move to support the
Support
alternative?
the alternative.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Robinson. Any discussion?
Sorry, I'm just trying to read to catch up.
Sorry.
So,
On
yeah,
the
you can too.
alternate.
So Liz and.
Thank you.
I'm just trying to get you all home.
Sarah, Robinson, okay, and that's.
Yep. Thank you. All right, I'm good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. 18 is submitted by Oyster River, encouraging the state to develop an equitable, sustainable school funding tax plan. Theirs focused on tax. The alternative recommendation by the Board of Directors is they propose that the state develop an equitable and sustainable tax plan dedicated solely to public schools operated by local school districts for the purpose of fully funding a constitutionally adequate education. Is there a motion?
So moved.
You
All-
moved-
For the.
wait, do you
alternative?
move-
For the, I move the alternative.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Richards. Is there discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 19, also submitted by Oyster River, to say that the association does not support the proposed revisions to the state administrative education rules 306. The NHSBA did not recommend this motion because the minimum standards have already been.
Yeah.
So are we okay with the,
Yes.
so,
So no on this one.
so
I move to not support.
Right.
number 19?
Number 19.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Campbell. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 20 is duplicative with the same recommendation as for 13, so I think,
This is null and void.
yeah.
Yeah.
21 is submitted by the Hooksett School Board on school impact fees. And the NHSBA recommended it.
Yeah. I move support of number 21.
I need one moment.
You got it.
Second.
Thanks, Liz.
Sorry, it was moved and seconded.
So I actually have a concern about this.
Don't we have to second?
Oh,
Yeah.
you second.
In order
I
to
second
have
to
discussion.
discussion.
Yeah, you moved, she's,
Yeah.
sorry. Moved by Ms. Robinson, seconded by Ms. Boucher. I worry that encouraging the city to increase impact fees will discourage the creation of the new housing that our city desperately needs. That, you know, our homeless student population will continue to grow. So that's what my concern is that, you know, impact fees, but, you know, we need housing in this city. And so I'm concerned about anything that would discourage housing or make it more expensive so that it's not affordable housing.
So can you explain to the public what an impact fee is?
So that would be a fee the city would charge a developer for building, and that we would potentially get a portion of the fee under the, you know, that's what they're encouraging under this resolution.
It usually means that the impact fee means that it impacts a school district, right? And that it's more students and therefore a requirement to raise more funds in order to educate those extra students. Jack, do we get any impact fees now?
We do not. That ended when the bond was paid off for the high school. We used to.
Right.
Oh, we're on number 21.
But you didn't have any for the 3 elementary schools?
No, because all we did, we consolidated. We didn't add more space.
You consolidated, okay. So you didn't have the need for more students, right? Okay.
Correct. Now, what would happen is, say you added pre-K?
Yeah.
And then had a 5th through 8th, and you need to expand?
Right.
That might qualify, yes.
This one's tricky.
I mean, the resolution is just asking for
Just to revisit.
local boards to revisit methodology, policy, and schedule, just to make sure that things are modern and efficient.
Every 5 years.
Every 5 years. I don't know if it's really saying like we are promoting impact fees so much as we're promoting the review and reassessment of impact fees on a regular schedule.
So they're not adding or really changing anything other than providing more oversight potentially, which is fine.
Yeah.
And I think you have the opportunity to discuss that matter with the city. So if you see an increase in students and you see it's gonna impact your schools with additional housing down the road, then you could have that conversation with the city. I think that was the intent, was for you to advocate.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Nay.
Is that you? Are you?
That's me.
All right, put you down.
Resolution 21 by Mascoma.
22.
22, yes. Put my glasses on now.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
NHBA will support legislation that requires the state of New Hampshire to fund the cost of the Youth Risk Behavior Student Survey for all middle school students. They currently fund it for high school students. It is not recommended by the Board of Directors. Because they feel like if we ask the legislature to pay for it, then they will mandate it and everyone will have to do it.
May I make a comment on
Yes.
this? I really struggle with the YRBS for middle school students. When you think of your middle school, could be 5 through 8, could be 6 through 8, and Jay and I have spent some time discussing it, and we thought about perhaps offering it this year as part of our data to gather for our grant, because it gives you data. But I was very concerned about some of the questions and some of the maturity of our 6th graders and having to do those questions. And I actually talked to Fern today about an alternative tool that really focuses on what we want to know about kids feeling belonging and all that, rather than some of the other questions around sexual issues that I think would be very intimidating for 6th graders. So I am looking at alternatives. We haven't done anything yet. We're bringing that to the instructional committee.
All right.
But we haven't done anything yet.
Any further discussion?
I have a question for Kathleen. Isn't the Youth Risk Behavior Survey opt-in now per state statute?
Yes.
Okay, so we couldn't even guarantee that kiddos would participate.
Right.
Because it requires parents.
We do it at the high school, and not all of our youngsters participate.
Yeah.
But the
Do we
high
need
school,
permission from my parents?
Been there.
they have to,
Parents have to be notified of it
Right.
and give their students
Because I remember
permission.
giving it.
you have to have, parents
Yes.
have to give permission,
Right.
which is different.
And we had, because I would always have a handful of kids that weren't doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
Do we have a motion?
I would move that we not support the Mascoma Valley Regional School Board resolution.
What number is that?
It's 22.
22. Moved by Ms. Robinson, seconded by Ms. Campbell. Is there any further discussion?
A lot of good information comes from these surveys. Is the motivation behind it that they feel that we,
Well, their motivation is they want the legislature to pay for it,
oh, I see.
is what the motion is.
Yeah, okay.
Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Resolution 23 urges the legislature to repeal all laws that usurp local control in regard to materials found in public school libraries. It is not recommended because they believe they have two continuing resolutions that speak to these matters. And reading them, they seem to do that. So I will move that we not support Keene's resolution. Second by Ms. Boucher. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? 24 is also from Keene. Proposed resolution opposing state laws that require mandatory reporting of conversations between teachers and staff about a student's identity as a member of any protected class. The NHSBA has proposed an alternative that prioritizes the well-being and safety of students, and while recognizing the rights of parents to make a decision about their children, also gives due consideration and weight to educators' professional judgment and their responsibility under the Code of Ethics for New Hampshire educators to always act in a student's best interests.
I move support of this resolution.
The Keene resolution or the alternative?
The alternative, I apologize.
Okay.
So the difference is it takes like this mandate away and allows teachers to make logically good decisions.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
makes
trust
sense.
your teachers.
Right, right.
So moved by Ms. Robinson. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Campbell. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. This is 2 weeks from Saturday they
Yes,
meet.
the 19th.
And I assume all of our delegates will be
Yeah, my heart's
comfortable
stopped, dude.
supporting our positions at the thing. If you're not, let me know and we can make changes.
Awesome.
Thank you to our delegates.
Thank you for our
doing that
delegates,
that
yes.
Saturday.
Hey, no problemo, y'all.
Yes, thank you. I will take a motion on the professional development master plan.
I move acceptance of the proposed professional development master plan as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Ms. Robinson, second by Ms. Hastings. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Page 163, fall coaches. What?
I was following the agenda. But
Yeah, no, it was only a first reading.
Okay, I bring forward tonight one fall coach nomination for an additional boys soccer coach at Runlet Middle School, Quincy Worthy.
I move acceptance.
That'll be a fun team, I second.
Yeah, right?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Winter coaches.
We have 3 new winter coach nominations this evening for girls varsity basketball, girls JV basketball, and assistant Nordic coach.
I move acceptance of the slate of winter coaches as presented.
Second. So moved by Ms. Robinson, second by Ms. Walsh. Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
And on page 165 is returning winter coach nominations. The list.
Any, can I have a motion to approve the slate of winter coaches?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Higgins,
Second.
second by Mr. Richards. Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Monthly enrollment reports.
Pretty stable. Numbers haven't changed that much. This is the best report now. We're October 1st, so that's where we gather the data. But again, you know, it changes. It can change in a heartbeat. So I think it's pretty self-explanatory where we are, class sizes, and total numbers at the high school as well as at the students from Deerfield are included in this report, as well as your preschool numbers, which you can see is where, you know, what John referred to tonight earlier.
Proposed calendars of meetings.
I think this week on Wednesday, we have a policy meeting, a building committee meeting on Thursday, and of course, there's no school on Friday to allow teachers to participate in the professional development day. We are celebrating Columbus Day on the 14th. And on the 16th of that week, there'll be negotiations at 5. Hopefully that they'll have some updates on current negotiations underway, as well as at 5:30, a very robust Finance Committee meeting at 5:30. The following week, Executive Committee, followed by Instructional Committee. Communication and Policy has two meetings this month. The chair believes we have a lot on our list, and they, by the way, they continue to, that list continues to grow. I heard from our association 29 policies affecting us based on legislation that we'll have to look at. So it's going to be a busy season. And then on the 24th, it says tentative, but when we did this agenda, it was tentative, but you can take that word tentative off because we are meeting on the 24th for the Traffic Study Committee, 5:30 here. The 28th, again, a special school board meeting. That's the evening that you vote on your budget. Jack will come in, will present all of the information that you need, but you need to do that vote. We need to have a seven members present, and in order for the city then to set the tax rate based on your budget.
So if anyone does not believe they can be there, please let us know as soon as possible.
I know it's hard to believe, but we'll be moving into November, and school board meeting the first week.
Just means we're closer to March, closer to March.
The Election Day, November 5th, our schools are closed on that day, but we will have PD for our teachers. Following morning, you just be aware that Bridget will be doing the canvass of votes, so be prepared for that, and in that evening, negotiations. Building committee, as you know, once a month we do meet with building, even though it seems like we just had it, but we try to do it in the beginning of the month. Veterans Day is on the 11th. That schools will be closed on that day to honor our veterans. Instructional committee, middle of the week on the 13th. Following week, executive committee, city and community relations on the 18th, and communication and policy on the 20th. We will then break that last week. Thanksgiving is late this year on the 28th, but students will be off on the 27th, 28th, and 29th to celebrate the Thanksgiving break.
Any further business? No. Any further public comment? Seeing none, I am going to move that we go into non-public session briefly under 91A3, Section 2A, 2D, 2A, 2I, the whole list.
You're good.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Campbell. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We will not be coming back onto television, so thank you and good evening.